Time for Type 40 Live, the live stream Doctor Who magazine show here across your view screen on Rumble, on X and YouTube and Facebook, joined by a live chat full of fellow friends, fans and companions just like you. And whatever your flavour, whatever your era, whoever's your doctor, there'll be something to send your time rotor spinning more than ever. This time, would you buy a used cultural institution from this guy? This time Russell was as good as his word. And now we know we're looking extensively at this update on the future of Doctor Who from the BBC with a panel of good eggs and bad wolves. Is it really as bad as all that? It's the big story with us here on the Big Who. Hold tight. What's it like where you are? Hello. Yes, so 10 days ago, as of time of recording, Russell T Davies broke his silence on Doctor Who, assuring BBC Radio 2 host Gary Davies, you will get an announcement. This time, he has delivered, strangely. And on this edition of our live stream, we'll be bringing you our takes on it all and surveying the crater left on the surface of the Doctor Who fandom. Last month, Type 40 published our own thorough report on the state of the Christmas special production in full, leading to that story being picked up by mainstream media and arguably forcing the hand of those who've willfully, though hardly skillfully, kept us all in the dark as to the true situation and the fate of Doctor Who. That's new Doctor Who as begun in 2005 even, with this full press release published by the BBC Media Centre on the morning of June the 10th, 2026. Well, the picture has become clearish, and the main players exposed for their part in bringing down the series once again. I am eager to welcome back regular panelists Charlotte, David, and Gary again to compare and contrast our readings. There may even be a few jokes along the way. Hello, guys. You okay? Welcome back. What a week.
I was trying to think of a quote to sort of summarise this, and I thought of the Fifth Doctor when he said, "Oh, it feels a bit different this time," and I think that's sort of a good summary of where Doctor Who is at the current time.
Just a touch, eh, Gary? Plenty to say, plenty on our minds, plenty under the hat to bring forth.
Yeah, just as Charlotte went immediately to her quote from the Fifth Doctor, I went to the quote that you see here, which is from the end of Nightmare on Eden, when the Doctor tells Trist, "Go away, just go away." That's the line that's the scene that I thought of.
Said with such fatigue in his voice.
Yes,
David. I think depending on who you are, you're going to feel a mixture of things about the entire scenario right now. But right where I'm sitting, from my point of view, I can see the short-term and the long-term, future and the past, all sort of blending and blurring and bending even into one right before my eyes. Do you think you're ready to get stuck into all of this with us? Or does it seem like an impossible task?
No, I just think that somewhere else the tea is getting cold. To be fair, that's what I think.
An excellent and succinct summary. Now, obviously, we're joined by a live chat full of fellow Doctor Who fans as ever, and we'll get to your comments, whoever you are, in due course. So hold tight. We promise we will get into that, but there's a lot to talk about that came to us officially. The conversation will open up as time moves on. Thank you for joining us. Okay, this is what we got, and when we got it, an update on the future of Doctor Who there with a graphic that we've seen many times over the last 8 months. I think initially we were quite pleased to see it. Now I'm sort of sick of it. how it is now with this image of the TARDIS. It initially symbolized refreshed hope, I think, for the show. And now I think it's anything but. It was hardly a wall of text that we were met with that day. You know, it was dated and very nicely introduced. Today we're announcing an update on plans for the future of Doctor Who, which perfectly reasonable. It's been months since we've had the last one. It seems pretty harmless. But obviously when you take a step back and you see, well, there's not that much there in some senses, but there's more than enough to talk about. It's not often the BBC puts out statements like this. We get used to reading them, and they're usually full of hyperbole. This one far, far less so, for one major reason. Let's take a look at what it says. As part of securing the next phase of the show for future generations, and in line with the BBC's charter and agreement requirements, the BBC will put Doctor Who out to competitive tender this year. Doctor Who remains an important part of the BBC, and this tender underpins the BBC's continued commitment to Doctor Who, ensuring audiences will enjoy the show for years to come. They've said this kind of thing numerous times in the last, I'd say, 9 to 10 months since the Edinburgh TV Festival, since just before the Disney deal was publicly concluded. So this isn't necessarily things that we haven't heard before. They're saying all of the right things. Future generations underpins commitment for years to come. They're saying all of the right things, Charlotte, but I'm immediately suspicious. I was immediately suspicious when I saw this. As soon as they mention their charter, their agreements, the legal stuff, you think, okay, this is a statement, this is an announcement, but not like any that we've seen for a number of years.
Yeah, I think we all said before when we were sort of predicting what this statement could be when Russell said it on the radio show, a lot of us sort of said it's probably going to be Russell's going and some sort of update on the Christmas special. So that bit was sort of just business as usual. This is the bit of the statement when I read it that stood out to me, like you said, because it's confirming that it's not just Russell out, it's Bad Wolf out, because they're putting it out to tender. They're looking for other people to come in and pitch. That's what this is in sort of layman's terms. And that's what struck me about this and how different, and that's why I sort of said that Fifth Doctor quote, because it feels like for so many other times when we've had this handover from showrunner to showrunner, or different sort of production, or different people coming in, it's felt like they've just always gone to the first person, or they've just always gone to the person that they want initially, and they've not thought outside of that.
Well, Charlotte, there's a touchstone, there's a person or personality that they know that the punters and the followers, the people who engage with the brand, who follow the social medias, or are simply regular viewers or semi-regular viewers, somebody they will recognize and think, oh, them, and that you can picture their face or hear their voice, and it's all very, very cozy. But this immediately feels very, very corporate. There's no all they've mentioned so far is a tender. There's no mention of personnel coming or going or anything of that nature. This feels very clear and very legal and very proper, I suppose, Gary. Proper.
Just to add that quickly, this feels like it's a proper, they're pausing and cleaning house.
Yeah.
They're not just saying, oh, let's just go to this person because we like them or we know them. That I feel like has happened a few times with the Chibnall, how he got it and then how Russell got it back. And we've all said the thing that this show needs is new blood. It needs new voices and new people to come in. And I think that's what this is in aid of, honestly. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think.
But without knowing, but we're kind of jumping ahead there. I mean, what I'm saying is that we don't know what's coming up at this point when we're first reading this. So immediately, I think it reads very differently.
Yeah, I was just saying that was the thoughts that it got me thinking of. But like I said, we'll get into that later.
Gary, in lots of trade magazines and some of the more broader mainstream media platforms, I'm thinking Hollywood Reporter,
Mhm.
Deadline, for example, Entertainment Weekly, they sometimes publish articles like this, Broadcast Magazine too, based in Britain, whereby we see the kind of the business end. But to the general follower, we're not used to reading stuff like this. And I think it reads very differently, even from the statement we got at the end of October.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when I used to work for the Hollywood Reporter, at that point it was a daily kind of news publication, and this is the kind of thing that would have been like
Okay.
page one type of thing. But yeah, it's the whole idea of it's the competitive tender, which is joined to, as you said, words like commitment and ensuring audiences. It's almost kind of like, they have the will, but not necessarily the ability. So that's why they're putting it out to competitive tender. And if you just go by this and you already kind of have a working knowledge of like who's producing it now, who's in control of it now, you're thinking, whoa, okay, then what about Bad Wolf? Because then if you think about it, if you're aware that Bad Wolf is running it now, you kind of think, wow, this is kind of a slap in the face, because the way that the BBC is exhibiting their commitment to the brand is to basically see who's kind of most hungry for it and who has the best idea.
You can feel a line being drawn, can't you, Gary? And that was what I felt, David. Just as Gary said, when I saw the word tender, I thought, oh, okay, because as far as we're aware, Bad Wolf are in this for a relatively long haul.
Mhm.
As we understand it, they did have a couple more calendar years to run to film material, content, whatever you want to call it, to mount further productions. It's like, oh, okay. I'm starting to see it. So as I was reading it, you are sort of weighing it up, aren't you, between what we thought we knew or things we knew concretely knew, and where this could possibly go from here. This hit social media at the same time. Obviously, they published it at around 11 o'clock on the morning there. So I think they usually go sort of in the afternoon. But I suppose that you probably saw it on social media in the same way that we did.
Yeah, it just popped up on my Facebook feed whilst I was waiting to go into yet another dental appointment.
No.
There is light at the end of the tunnel on that. I
You poor
promise
bloke.
you. Yes, again, and I can hear the millions of violins sounding for me. But but I just saw it. I clicked on it, and the page wouldn't load, and I thought, oh, that means a lot of people are looking at the page. So I had to wait a couple of minutes, and then I got the link and clicked on the link. And I must say that I read it along the line of an England and Wales Cricket Board statement, a football club
Here we go.
stroke professional. No, what I'm trying to get at is the professional sports club announcement when they say that, by mutual consent, we are saying goodbye to X, and we are committed to the future of the team, the club, the whatever it is, and we're going to invite applications to take us to the next great heights, sort of thing. The one thing that shocked me, and I was jaw to the bottom of the floor, was that Bad Wolf were no longer going to be involved, because I thought that they would keep going for another couple of years yet with somebody else in charge. Now, that really shocked me, because it is a divorce. This is a divorce statement, like when a manager of a club or a sports team leaves. It is very much the legal speak of a divorce statement. We're going our separate ways.
The other expression, David, that sort of raced into my mind, you're absolutely right, but the expression that raced into my mind as I was reading this, I thought, oh, okay, what we're getting here is a shit sandwich. Definitely a shit sandwich. So it goes on to say, after careful consideration, the BBC, Russell T Davies, and Bad Wolf. See, everybody is all a collective at this point. Nobody's exited. Nobody's gone. it's a head count of everybody who's effectively in the room around. I view this as like as a boardroom or at a press launch of sorts where people are lined up Comic-Con style along a long desk or something. So after careful consideration, the BBC, Russell T Davies and Bad Wolf have collectively decided not to go ahead with the previously announced Doctor Who Christmas episode. This decision was not taken lightly, and we know it will be disappointing for fans. But in order to set the show up for future series, it was decided that rather than bridge the gap with a one-off special, we are choosing to push forward to invest in the long-term future of the show, which ensures that when the TARDIS lands once more, it does so in all its glory. A united
there's
front.
there's so much said there that's not being said.
a united front. They haven't taken the decision lightly. It was probably over a liquid lunch, but they haven't taken the decision lightly, which meant that it was likely thrashed out over several meetings, I would say.
Yeah.
They are acknowledging a responsibility towards the fans who've been rather led up the garden path, I feel, in the last 8 or 9 months. Let's not forget, they did launch their last announcement with this graphic that we've come to know and begrudgingly love over the last few months. And now, just as we suspected a little while ago, it's not only not returning this Christmas, this production is not happening at all. We did speculate up to a point about this, didn't we, Charlotte? We considered it was an option that the special may disappear entirely. Other people felt it could be bumped to another public holiday, generally, because it's a special. So you wouldn't just put it on any Saturday night. You would wait for the next bank holiday, public holiday, whatever. So a lot of people felt that way, but it seemed very clear that this was unlikely to meet its Christmas deadline. Whilst I thought there was a chance that it could disappear completely, I did feel like that was more on the outside.
Yeah, you sort of had two things going on at the same time for the last couple of months, haven't you? You've had Russell's sort of little statements he's given or little bits of interviews when people bring up Doctor Who to him, even though, and I've said this I think on previous streams, every time Doctor Who got brought up, you could tell Russell was not comfortable. You could tell he wasn't welcoming the question, let's put it that way. No. And you could just see he was giving very vague answers, but he was still maintaining that there was going to be a special at Christmas. Even in Doctor Who magazine, which has been brought up now to sort of haunt him a bit, he was still talking about this a couple of months ago, apparently. Yeah. That it was, and so you've had that in one sort of sphere going, and then you had what we were seeing, which is what's actually happening on the ground here. They've not started filming yet. They've not announced a date to start filming. They've not announced any cast. They've not announced anything to show that this production was at any point in the next couple of months going to start being made. And like we were all saying, the later you leave it, even though Doctor Who can be done close to the deadline, it still isn't ideal. You want to get this done with enough time to make it, to have special effects, to market it, to sort of build up all that. So I think we were seeing something's not right, something's not reading right here, and that's what made us all speculate and sort of say Christmas is looking more and more like a hope and not a certainty. And I think that's what they would pick. Eventually, they had to sort of break their silence. They couldn't keep this pretense.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really going to scupper them now, that they were saying it was going to happen. And I think for fans who were still really looking forward to this, or was still wanted to see this era have one last sort of ending point and to be able to finish, this has been taken from them. And that's the other thing of this. I think they're now having to wallow in their own embarrassment. That's what I think the whole not taken lightly is a bit about here, because they know all the newspapers the last day and a half in the UK has just been Doctor Who's cancelled, Doctor Who's scrapped. That's never happened before. We've never had something announced with a press release. We've never
Never.
had a showrunner keep on that it's happening, and then all at once, no. And then the other thing that struck me in the press release of this bit was, like you said, they've not gone, oh, it's delayed, but you're going to have it at this date. They've given us no date, no timeline, no commitment to anything on TV with any certainty at all. And I think they've done that on purpose because they've learned now that they've been burnt from announcing a Christmas special and having to now say it's not happening. They can't do that again. So it's sort of this idea of they want to make Doctor Who. I think they do honestly want to keep the show going. I think they know if they get the right people in, this show has a chance of coming back to life and being what it should be. But it's all, we're back in uncertain times, I think, more than ever. And that's what this part of the statement really sort of showed to me, that Doctor Who, it's not disappearing off the face of the earth and never coming back, but it's in an incredibly precarious position. I think the most precarious it's probably ever been, if I'm being perfectly honest.
The
Yeah, it's
language
worse
is
than
sort of crossing.
1989. Sorry.
The language is sort of straddling two different tones here. So we've got something softer. You know, we reach out to the audience. We're aware you're disappointed. We've not taken this lightly. You know, it's a lot more friendly, a lot more cozy. And then we're back into the sort of the corporate speak. So it's gradually getting a little cozier. I mean, what springs to mind with me with this, Gary, is something that Charlotte's just raised. We've never had this before, but as you know, when it comes to movies, following movies and TV shows, movies get announced and given a release date in the cinema theatrically, and then have their dates pushed back by a few months, sometimes brought forward even. But that's quite commonplace in cinema because they've got obviously theatres to put their films into. They're jostling for release dates with other films distributed by other studios, all these other things. So it's quite commonplace in film. Not so much in television. But to announce something with the kind of fanfare that they did in late October, now to have to walk that back so expressly, and even though a certain amount of contrition is expressed, I can't help but get the feeling this is lip service too, and it doesn't sort of dull the feeling of this is. I think whether we were looking forward to the special itself or not, this feels quite sharp. I think this enters with a very sharpened blade.
Like you said, I see this part of the press announcement, I kind of split up into two parts. The first part is the first sentence, which in my mind, I think can be reworded as we've all decided that the services of Russell T Davies and Bad Wolf are no longer required. Basically, I think that's kind of it's like, come on, let's lay our cards out. That's what's being said.
Yes, yeah.
We've decided to part.
Yes. They've decided that they have no choice but to leave. But in the second part, I don't know. And I've read this a couple, 3 times here just in the last minute to make sure I'm not putting my own interpretation on it. I actually think that you can look at the second part of this as saying we want to set the show up for future. We want to invest in the long-term future of the show. We want to ensure that the TARDIS comes back in all its glory, but we've decided that it seems like implicit to what they're saying is that the special would have accomplished none of that. Aren't they? They're saying they're saying that, you know, in order to set up the show for future decision, we're choosing to push forward. We decided that rather than that, so basically the special wasn't going to accomplish any of those ends. Otherwise, they probably would have stuck with it. So that's basically, to me, like a massive dink on the special and saying, look, we realized that it was based, whatever it was or whatever it not was or whatever, and we'll get into that. We decided that no good could have come from producing and airing this special. I actually think that's kind of how I'm interpreting, reading between the lines in that.
David, how about you?
Yeah, it does really sort of mutual consent sort of things. One thing it just struck me sometime today, and I've remembered the thought whilst we've been on here, is that let's not forget that Tim Britton, isn't it, the new Director General of the BBC, is a massive Doctor Who fan.
Oh, you were close. It's Matt Britton, but I see
Matt
where you've got
Britton,
mixed up with Tim Davey because they look like the same bloke.
Yeah, Tim Davey, yeah, and they're all the faceless same person. So Matt Britton, is a massive Doctor Who fan, and so I'm sure will have his views about the recent sort of series, and it does seem sensible that rather than a sort of sticking plaster to cover up the interesting decision to have the floaty head of Billy Piper on at the last minute at the end of the last episode, to sort of resolve that, they've just gone, oh, right, can we just sort of get rid of all this stuff and sort of maybe take it forward a bit better? And what would you think of and how to take it forward? Okay, right, we're not going to do that. We're going to put it out to tender, and we're going to let somebody else have a go, because 3 individuals have been responsible for the last 20 years compared to 9 individuals for the first 17 years of the original run. So there's a line that I'm paraphrasing from the current England cricket coach Brendan McCullum, who's a New Zealander, and my paraphrasing of it is that if you can't change a person, change the person. So this is a sort of thing. If you can't change a production company, if you can't change a way that a production company is going to treat the show and develop the show, change the production company. So it's a bit of a sort of thanks for all you've done. Right, on to the future. We're going to carry on with somebody else.
David, you've conjured up pictures of people sat around a boardroom playing with their lanyards. Very nervously, flicking them.
And I imagine it would have been like that, sort of like, right, what plans do you have for the future? How do you envisage in taking this forward? Lots of people nodding and just going, right, yeah, we think we'll go with somebody else about.
Yes, my cheating wife has decided we're having an amicable divorce.
Yes.
No, yes. David, if one of the Bad Wolf or Russell says, well, I thought that next month, and then they're going to go,
yeah, it's just that sort of, that sort of nodding in silence that people do, as if to say, you're so out of here. Okay.
And also the tone is we're keeping our heads, so you guys keep yours. That's kind of what they're saying. They go on to say, as a consolation, I think, don't worry, folks, the previously announced new Doctor Who animation series, David, you're in luck, for CBeebies, is currently in production. So there's your sweetener. Okay, for people who haven't been paying attention or have simply forgot, obviously if you're over 6, then there's no reason why you would remember this one, Charlotte. This was announced a little while ago. Again, they put this out to tender as well, the BBC press office. They offered people to pitch to produce an animated Doctor Who series for the preschool market that was going to go on CBeebies and BBC iPlayer, which was eventually won by the studio Blue Zoo. Very, very reputable setup, Blue Zoo. Congratulations to them again. Mm-hmm. But this has hardly been something that we've been sort of counting the days for. It's one of those, and there's that series for the Nippers, Charlotte.
Oh, do you know what's funny? And I'm not going to lie, my brain did go to this a bit. It was like, so basically, our current Doctor is probably going to be the Doctor in this series. Like, it's not going to
What,
be
Billy?
on BBC. It's it's not going to be the show we
Yeah,
know.
Billy.
It's going to be a cartoon Doctor running around, and they're the current version.
But we haven't
And-
got a current Doctor. That's the problem.
But that's my point. Like, whoever's in this show is
Oh,
going to
yes,
be the
I get
Doctor
you.
on screen.
Yes.
He's going
Yes,
to
sorry, Charlotte, I
inherit
misunderstood you.
the mantle,
Yes.
David. Is that?
Yes, I'm with you.
But no,
Maybe the first scene will be like an animated regeneration into the CBeebies Doctor.
But and here's the other thing that my brain went to, because we spoke about this when we were covering this, of like, oh, this is probably going to be its own thing, divorced from all the current canon stuff, because it's for that really young audience. It's about 20 minutes episodes. They're short burst content. That's how these things are designed. So it won't have time to do 10 ton of lore drops and tell us about Gallifrey and the Time Lords.
No.
But so this is going to become whatever version the Doctor of this show is the Doctor in probably the next couple of years. And a bit of me thinks, did they know that when they were sort of planning this? Not Russell's end, but BBC's end, like you were saying, David, those boardroom people who were like, we need some version of the character to still be out there.
I doubt it because I'm not entirely convinced that the Doctor will necessarily, or a Doctor will necessarily be a lead character of this show. I think this was conceived to carry the IP forward, to permeate the IP with a different demographic. Gary, I think we've talked about it before in the way that Sarah Jane did, in the way that Torchwood did, and because, like, as we've spoken about, other IPs have similar, don't they? There's a Star Trek show called Cadets right now doing exactly that. Doesn't feature any pre-established characters. It just looks like a preteen version of Star Trek. And the same goes for certain Marvel characters, combinations of characters. They kind of look a little like the main icons that we're used to, but they don't. And I think that's the strength of an IP, is that you can bend it out of shape a little bit like that and tell stories that are appropriate to that universe, but in a way that's appropriate for preschools, just to either in an educational way or whatever. And so I don't think this has any real bearing on it at all. And so I think it's rather bizarre on the surface at first sight. It's rather bizarre that this is in here. But then when you think about what David was saying and the fact that this is that parting of the ways, this is that divorce settlement statement, it's more talk connecting back to the IP rather than just the telly show that you know and love.
Well, and as you said, it might have just been their nod to wanting to prevent like mass hysteria, for the people who can't live without any form of Doctor Who on the air. It's like, well, no, here's something. And you know what? Honestly, I think that the only thing you need for this show, and they can change everything else, they just need the TARDIS, they need the blue box. Everything else is fungible.
And you know, Gary, if this is coming online in 2027, because there certainly won't be any more mainstream show in 2027, is a good way to try and build an audience for when the main show comes back of that particular age demographic.
So those 6-year-olds, they might get to adult age and maybe draw on the pension by the time it comes back.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. Moving on, again, more corporate speak. They pivot back to the thrust of the matter. Details of the tender will be announced in due course. The simplest of statements, the shortest of sentences in this whole statement. And yet I feel that those responses, those reports I've seen around this announcement so far have kind of skipped over this part. Details of the tender will be announced in due course. So this will work principally in the same way that the Blue Zoo deal to make the preschool show did. They offer it out to tender. People submit proposals and bids to make the show. So they bring in all the proposals. They take X amount of period of time to look through them, to compare and contrast, and have further meetings with each potential producer of a show. And all of these, they have variable windows, I would imagine, depending on the people involved. And then in time, they choose whichever has been the successful tender, and a production will then gear up to take shape, to actually happen. But here, this is the intention behind this. Let's say that's what happened with Blue Zoo. But I notice it says that details of the tender will be announced in due course. What I'm taking from this is that as of right now, in June 2026, this isn't actually open to tender yet. This is something they are considering doing in the future. When they announced the CBeebies show, they immediately had a portal, a website where people would go to on the BBC website and download the proposal, the targets that they needed any potential production company to hit, and what they were looking for, to download them, to take it away, and then prepare their proposal. With this, there's nothing like that. We have it capped off with "in due course," which are the exact 3 words that they used in the press release last October when they announced that Christmas special. This show is not open for tender yet. This IP hasn't gone out yet. It's just signaling an intention to do so at some point in the future. Charlotte, am I reading that correctly? Because I'm getting the impression that all of the media outlets have missed this.
No, that was my reading as well, of that. This is them, I think, saying what they had to because of all the heat, because of the news reports, because of the fan speculation and the rumours circling. I think we are seeing, for the first time in a while, a BBC on the back foot being forced their hand to having to come out and say something. And because it's been forced, they haven't got all their ducks in a row yet. They haven't got all the details yet that usually they do have with these sort of things. And you're right, they've not said in so many months, they've not said when, like, a window of anything, and that's what keeps cropping up throughout this press release. There's no windows, folks, there's no timeline, there's no dates. And I think that's why fans, I'm hoping, are sort of picking up here that we're probably not going to see Doctor Who for a while. And I think this is them sort of softly trying to say that without saying it. And statements like that is them doing that, of sort of... And here's the other thing. Even if, let's say, in a couple of months this goes out, I'm just sort of doing a guesswork here. That still means the process of accepting all the possible people coming has to happen. You still need to listen to all the pitches. You then need to pick the production team. You then need to set up. There's so many steps for this to get back on the road again. And it feels like we're back to that point of Doctor Who having to rebuild again and sort of reorient itself and restart again. And that's what statements like that really gives me the feeling of, those sort of, that idea.
David, the tender process is commonplace, obviously, in all kinds of business. We've seen it. I suppose the most high-profile example I can think of in recent years was Elon Musk acquiring Twitter, and turning it into X. You know, he made several sort of dad joke puns based on that. Love me tender, and all kinds of memes like that. So I think that's the most sort of high profile in recent years. But this is commonplace, isn't it, in the corporate world?
Yes, and the BBC are obliged to, under the Broadcasting Act of 1990, to have a certain percentage of drama and programs made by independent production teams, or at least offer the opportunity for independent production teams to bid for programming. And that takes time, and it takes time to set up. You have to obviously make sure that the divorce from the previous production team is all legalized and clean and the I's dotted and T's crossed. And every tender sort of process has to be fair, has to be accountable, has to be auditable, and has to run a certain period of time so that enough bidders can bid, and there has to be certain checkpoints and reviews, and as Charlotte said, pitches can be heard. So I sort of read this and I just thought, okay, so realistically, a tender process can take anything from 3 to 6 months. Then obviously somebody's awarded a contract, and then you obviously have to get people in to write scripts. And after you've and then after you've written scripts, you then have to find out who's available for pre-production, everything like this. And when TV was a bit more simple, in 2005, when the new series was announced, don't forget it was announced 18 months before it was actually transmitted. A good 18 months.
It was
before. I think it was in September. I think it was September-ish
September,
time.
October time, because they had to.
Yeah.
They were planning on announcing it on Doctor Who Day that year, November the 23rd, but it had started to leak out, and people were starting, obviously, because enthusiasm. So it sort of forced an early announcement. You're quite right.
So that was a good 18 months before it appeared on screen. Now, with everything far more bureaucratic and taking far longer to get to the screen, you would envisage that this process could mean that even if a tender opportunity began tomorrow, it could take 6 months for an approved production company, to get the contract. And then you're looking at 2027. So at the earliest, if that timetable was to be, this is all hypothetical, please don't take my word for it, because I'm in the dark just as everybody else is, but it could not be until mid-2028 at the absolute earliest that we would get something on screen. So I do feel, as Charlotte indicated, that we could not be seeing any potential Doctor Who until the end of 2028 to the beginning of 2029, because in order to get something new and established and working relationships going and everything, if BBC Studios wins the tender, then fine, because that's within the BBC. But say if Red Planet Productions, Tony Jordan's company, bid for it and won it, then that would mean that the whole commissioning process and everything would drag along, and we could be looking 2 to 3 years probably until we would see something after on screen with respect to this, at the earliest, I feel.
Yeah, and just to add to that, we're all talking like they're going to have people lining up to bite their arm off at this opportunity. Doctor Who right now is incredibly damaged as a brand. The show had its lowest viewing figures it's ever had. It's had incredible bad fan feeling for years at this point.
Bad press.
But can I just come back on you on that one as a sort of mini challenge, Charlotte? But that might encourage more people to bid for it, because at the moment you can't get any worse than what's gone on. Okay, so production companies could be saying, look at how this finished. Okay, it's not finished very well. So actually we can't make it any worse than it has been. So anything we do will be a success for us.
He said
because it's reached its rock bottom. Because at least in 1989, and this is a serious point.
No,
so
I agree with you.
You've got what you've got with Doctor Who is a sort of franchise that is a sleeping giant. It's a giant that's been tranquilized to sleep and really abused to sleep. But there are a number of production companies that could only you can only increase the brand of Doctor Who at the moment. You can't decrease it any further. So I think a lot of production companies would line up to bid for this, because essentially anything you do would probably be highly likely be better than what we've seen before.
The only way is up, Gary, according to David. What have you got to say?
Well, here's the thing. I think that the two things I take from that one single line that are important. Yeah. One is that the complete lack of any definitive time frame for this, which covers themselves hugely, because they can take whatever time they want, as people are on social media every day going, what's taking them so long? They can say, well, we said it's still in due course. That can take, forever and a day. The other is about the details of the tender. Now, I doubt that the tender that they put out in order to help these companies shape their concept is going to say anything like, you know what, the sky's the limit. Let your imagination soar. There's no guardrails at all. Just if you want to have the Doctor have a companion who's like a talking purple aardvark, go for it.
I'd watch that.
There's going to be, well, Tom Baker wanted a cabbage on his shoulder after Leela left. There's going to be guardrails in terms of what, not to limit their creativity, but there's going to be guardrails to say, look, it can't be this. It's got to be within this as much as their creativity allows. And that's got to be decided. It's not just, hey, submit here's the address to mail your, here's the contact email when you get your concept all outlined. It's going to be much more detailed than that. And it's going to include, concept guardrails in terms, and so that's going to take the BBC a long time to decide on, or else they're going to get these totally like whacked out tenders that the BBC is in no position to actually enact, because of budget or whatever. I'm actually, honestly, my honest guess is we're not going to see anything before 2030.
Yeah, it's so, I think just as David said, I mean, it's all so hypothetical. Literally anything could happen. And just as Charlotte's identified, there's no, these windows, they're sort of throwing them all open and they can just be adjusted along the way. I wouldn't quite describe it as smoke and mirrors, but it's falling back onto that legal framework. Say, okay, this is serious now. The signal is that, okay, we've accepted you're in the room, but this time you're going to have to be quiet, everybody, because the adults are talking. And I think that's reasserted in the tail end of this. The BBC, they finish off with this. The BBC retains all IP in Doctor Who. BBC Studios will continue to lead the global distribution of Doctor Who, as well as licensing, consumer products, digital and immersive experiences on behalf of the BBC. Mm-hmm. In other words, keep your hands off.
Yeah. This to me struck me as kind of a very polite, well-mannered notice to anybody interested in putting a tender out. You know what? Basically, we're still the boss. We welcome your ideas, but you're effectively work for hire, because don't think that you're going to end up with any ownership in whatever you hand us to produce. I think that's intended for the potential tenderers.
Well, I think that's probably in there, Charlotte. But where I've gone to with this is I'm picking up this sort of angle that, okay, the series is out of production, but we still own this. They're reminding people they can't just go off and make bootleg Doctor Who merchandise We can't go off and make our own episodes of Doctor Who and flood video platforms with them or start selling them at car boot sales on DVDRs. It's a case of keep your hands off everybody. We still own Doctor Who and we know our rights. What's your take?
The other bit I got from this is I think this is them reaffirming something they've said I think last year, that they are very aware that Doctor Who isn't just a show. Like, they're going to use the other opportunities of the license of Doctor Who. Like, they've got the audios. I know Big Finish make them, but they still have to pay BBC to be able to make them. There's the books, there's comics. Doctor Who has got all these other avenues that I think are going to become more and more important in these years now of this hiatus, that the BBC is still going to fully go ahead with just to keep the brand. That's what they kept going on about. Sorry, now I can remember. They kept saying about how the brand wasn't going anywhere and the brand was this and the brand was that a lot last year. And like, that's what all this is about. It's saying, look, this is still what we can make. This is what we can produce. It's part of us still. It's our IP.
Yeah.
So I think, and that's what also I think what's going to be really interesting in these years of no television Doctor Who on the screen, I think we're going to get Doctor Who in different avenues, which I'm actually interested in. How's Doctor Who going to sort of keep going on
Circuit
in
breaker.
that way?
Yeah, I actually, you said it, David. I actually think that all of this was done solely to drive up sales for all the circuit breaker stuff, because this is the only Doctor that we have now. So it's like,
For
go
people
buy
who
Circuit
haven't been-
Breaker, debuting in 1 week, everybody.
if you haven't been paying attention to this, Circuit Breaker is the transmedia event, which is headlined by Joe Martin as the fugitive Doctor. And it also features Ingrid Oliver as Osgood, and it will straddle print media, audio dramas, games, and you name it. They put it pretty much everywhere that's left. Really, everybody that still takes a Doctor Who license, that's turning up in. There's the statement in full, everybody. So there's quite a lot there. There's no fat on this. Every word of this has been carefully balanced and considered as a foot in the door, I think.
One last thing, and maybe Dan, you'd probably be able to speak to the fact of maybe what I'm about to say wouldn't be included in this type of statement anyway. But the one thing to me that's almost glaring in its omission from this is because this basically in many ways is putting a bow on what's going on, like on current everything. This basically wraps it up in a bow with looking to the future.
Doctor Who we've known it in the 21st century.
Right. So the one thing that to me is glaring in its omission is any kind of like thanks to Russell T Davies, thanks to Bad Wolf, whatever. That to me is like, whoa, the fact that none of that is in here, even in a one sentence nod, is to me really striking.
Well, when I got through reading that, Charlotte, because I read it on the website there in full, didn't take very long to read it, obviously, a lot less than it has speaking now. But the first thing that hit me was, I was expecting a couple of snappy sentences from Russell T Davies because he's still in the conversation there. There's only one mention of him in passing. Where is he? There's no quotes from anyone at all. That was what hit me when I took a step back from it, and I read it again. I think I read it 3 times. Took a few minutes and then read it again before moving on and looking at what people were saying, because obviously this came out at 11 a.m. on the morning, and it was a little while, only say half an hour before we heard anything else. Half an hour, maybe an hour, but this was just left hanging there. And there's also no mention of the on-screen Doctor Who universe either. Any acknowledgement of where the character was, who had taken part, poor Billy Piper, who's had to bullshit about this for 8 or 9 months. You know, we had managed to get to the truth on this. You know, we know that it was thrown together. We know she signed nothing. She agreed to nothing. It was all done on a handshake, bless her. But she's been left holding this baby all of that time.
Yeah, like, to be honest, I didn't pick that up at first, mainly because, like you said, it was such a short press statement. And then
Yeah.
I saw a couple of other people mention, oh, Russell's not getting his thank you. And then, like you, I read it again. And I was like, oh, God, like this is, there's no flattery. There's no stroking his ego. There's no sort of, like Gary said, saying like, oh, thank you, Russell, for all your hard work sort of statement. Because I remember I said, oh, we'll go with flowers. And this is the opposite of that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I think that just shows, and this is me very much reading between the lines, but I don't think it's that hard to read, honestly. This to me signals Russell leaving was not in any way happy or in any sort of he wanted to go or anything like that. This feels like Russell has thoroughly and rightfully so been pushed out. He's been sort of told, mate, you're gone. Like, we don't even want you special. We're not even going to thank you. We're not even going to acknowledge sort of anything of the current era you've done, or even backslab or even sort of go, and in 2005 he brought it back, like none of that.
The
So
word
this-
genius isn't used once. It's a rare thing.
no. So
They
it-
even thanked Disney and the release when they ceased partnership with Disney. Charlotte, they even thanked Disney for their
yes.
work.
So this feels like the BBC.
And that was far from harmonious, their relationship with Disney, Charlotte, was it?
Yeah, so I think, and a lot of fans have been saying this. This is broken down badly between Russell and BBC.
I think so.
This is them sort of washing their hands with, I think, with a lot of glee of Russell being gone, and I think they're very happy that he's gone and out the room right now, just off like that statement alone.
Yep.
He's made a fool of himself. He's made a mockery of the IP. He has disappointed and embarrassed the hardcore fan base and driven away what very few members of the general viewing audience, the great British viewing public in particular, were still willing to sit down on the sofa and watch this either on a Saturday night or catch up with it during the week, Gary. And I know that internationally the picture is even bleaker.
Yeah, as we've said before, I don't even know if I'm flipping around and seeing what's on BBC America now. I never see like Doctor Who on, but who knows? I mean, AMC Plus, which now has all of New Who, they own, if I'm not mistaken, they own BBC America or are affiliated with them. So it's basically kind of sort of like having a BBC America connection back. But yeah, I agree that this wasn't. I mean, regarding this particular iteration of the show, the last 2 years, and even by extension, the years before that, my initial reaction to all of this was that this was kind of a mercy killing. The legacy of the show, to me, has been desecrated so much over the last 9 years. It needed to end. I mean, I've never been one to believe that having any Doctor Who on air, even if it's bad, is better than no Doctor Who on air. So I think they just needed to drop the hammer, stop it before it gets worse, and let time heal. I think that the show needs to be given time to allow the I'll be nice and say the presence of RTD and Bad Wolf to fade away. I mean, the BBC execs can, as we've been reading and analyzing, BBC execs can commit to the global brand all they want. But I think there's still no way to know at this point in time the extent to which RTD and Bad Wolf have damaged this franchise. We all realize that it has. I just don't think there's any way to quantify how badly they've damaged right now. It's too soon. I mean, at best, the general audience is completely apathetic to it now, which is a horrible place for the show or for any franchise to be in. It was not that way in 1989. There was not The ratings were kind of low and it had no BBC support, but I do not think you can say that the audience was apathetic to it like it is now.
No, they weren't. I think the only way to find out is how long it takes the mainstream audience to miss the show. And obviously, we can't possibly speculate too long on that, because how long is a piece of string?
Yeah,
really. Well, maybe we could get the charity single on the go collectively. I mean, David's got a pretty decent voice. He's a good baritone. I know that he could handle that. I think between us, we may be able to do something. I don't know. But let's go and have a look in the live chat, because we are joined by fellow fans over there who've got plenty to say. I know lots and lots of people and a hell of a lot of comments. Thank you so much, everybody. So let's go and see what they've got to say about all of this so far.
You're watching Type 40. Stupid tune anyway.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us in this chorus of disappointment and disillusionment in the wake of this update on the future of Doctor Who from the BBC themselves. We've got several comments here. Seven Doll said right away here, I've seen people offering solace by way of reminding us that the show has been on hiatus before, so I doubt it'll be back. I don't think so. Classic Who never disgraced itself to the level New Who has. So they're heavily black-pilled there. We've got David Mullen, who says, kind of look into what you were saying there about the animated Doctor, Charlotte, that could be on the way. A show so utterly crushed that it has left us with no sitting Doctor. An utter implosion that took both the series and main character with it, leaving us with nothing. A void.
Can I just add at that point, which comes into David Mullen's point, about the fact that Rob Shearman was quite horribly criticised by Jane Tranter when he made that point creatively, that it's put people down a bit of a dead end, because at least with when Sylvester McCoy walked off with Sophie Aldred into the sunset at the end of Survival, there was that creative opening for people to take the story further. But as a result of what happened at the end of the reality war, it's sort of left a bit of a creative void, because there is no sitting Doctor, as David quite really well pointed out.
Oh yeah, I think though that's now going to have to be just forgotten about, to put it bluntly. I can't see how. Why would you pick up a cliffhanger which made no sense, which wasn't set up well, 5 years down the line, with probably you couldn't get Billy to come back to do it anyway? I'd be amazed. So I think it's going to become another, well, I'm half human on my mother's side, but that's the last image of Doctor Who on screen. That's the problem, versus one bit of dialogue.
Because despite JNT's numerous failures at the end, being persuaded to stay and everything like that, he had the sense to get Andrew Cartmel to write that closing speech for the end of Survival. Said, look, I need you to come up with something that just basically keeps it open. And he had that sense, like again at the end of the Trial of a Time Lord, despite whatever side you want to take, he didn't like the ending that Eric Saywood proposed, because he felt it gave the BBC the opportunity to can it, because it was a sort of ambiguous ending. So he wanted to have
this is kind of that ending. This is that kind of note to strike. Really, I know it's a very different tone, but the preposterousness is there. It's all flash and noise. It doesn't make any discernible sense, even to the people who've actually been watching it for 20 years. Never mind anybody who just looks now and again, just been thinking, oh God, haven't they put this show out of their misery yet? And then I've taken one look at that and thought, I won't revise that opinion. Pluto Spirit has joined us in the live chat here on YouTube and says, honestly, I'm relieved about the show's cancellation, but sad about its decline, as I fear it's in a far worse place than Classic Who was when it was cancelled. This is something that we keep coming back to in a flood of these comments. Somewhere there's danger, somewhere there's injustice, and somewhere else the tea's getting cold. Reminds us Aidan McGear. There's lots of things that are tonally in line with that. Lance Uppercut says, evening. Well, it was reported and dismissed, but now it's been proven. Russell T Davies just couldn't be bothered in the end and bolted. Again, we'll come to Russell in a little while. Thank you for joining us, Lance. Darren has also joined in. Good evening, ding dong, and
Ding
all
dong.
that. He says, and Rose Kirby's also with us too. Our friend Rose, who says, hey folks, it's with a sad heart that I say Doctor Who has died. It no longer exists. But let's say farewell for now. So she's
in this form.
on the upside, in this form. We've got Ian's in the chat there. Hello, Ian. Good to see you. Good evening, everyone, from Floydian, who says, I haven't cried this much since Hadrick died. There.
Well, I've said to you like before we came on, and I think because I'm the person on the panel that knew who was my start with Doctor Who. Knew Who was the thing that got me into this show. It was 2005. I had no idea about the show because when I was growing up, it was proper. It wasn't on telly or referenced a lot. So if you didn't already know about it, and that's what I'm trying to sort of convey, it was absent completely. So I gave a chance because I saw the adverts and my dad sort of said, I think you're gonna like it because he watched it when he was a kid. So that was my start. And for 20 years, it's been my favourite thing to watch on telly. It's been the character which I most adore, which I sort of fall in love with, the TARDIS, the world. So once I sort of got through reading the statement and like doing what we've just been doing the hours, sort of thinking about it and what could it mean and all of that, and I sort of just reflected a bit. It felt really odd to me, and I did get a little bit emotional because
I can imagine.
I got so many good memories. The New Who gave me the 11th Doctor, which to this day is still my Doctor. Nobody's been able to quite capture me like Matt did. It's given me characters which I love, and then in connection to that, it made me go and watch Classic because I was in. So then that was a whole new treasure trove of stories and doctors which I had never met, and like at the moment I have been watching a lot of Classic again, and then also because of Doctor Who I met everybody on this panel. I met people that I talked to off the
But
panel.
apart from that, it's all been good.
I was going to say, despite that, it's been a great
Despite
experience
that,
for it.
yeah.
But so
Every cloud.
yeah, but just it did feel really odd, and it did sort of have that emotional thing of that night when I sort of quiet down and thought about it.
Even though 1989 was a remix of this, it didn't happen in exactly the same way. I remember how I felt in those weeks closing in on the third part of Survival, when it became very clear that the show wasn't going to be coming back anytime soon. It was a culminative thing, and how I tried to stall watching that final episode as well, the story for another time, but I can certainly relate. A lot of people are thinking back to 1989 and indeed whole stretches of the 90s, the wilderness years again, same PR press release almost, says Greg Vegan. And Stephen Braddock also says, sounds just like the Peter Cregeen statement all over again. And so does Woodhouse 122. I remember a similar statement being made in 1990. And when you compare those two statements, the famous statement from Peter Cregeen, who was head of serials back in 1990, it was very, very similar in the way that it is laid out. It's got that shit sandwich vibe to it. And the assurances that are made are just as loose, just as on the surface cozy and an appeal to a kindred spirit, but at the same time saying, okay, nothing to see here for the time being. for a long time.
Well,
Vague
Wasn't it like he
vague
said,
language when it suits them.
but didn't he, if I'm trying to remember correctly, he said something like, we're looking for the best way to take Doctor Who into the 90s.
Nowadays, Gary, they boil that down to 3 words: in due
Due
course.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Peter Green quite famously said on some of the DVD extras, and I'm going to paraphrase him hopefully succinctly, that there was a feeling amongst the BBC that it had kind of lost its way, that we couldn't find anybody else to take it on.
Same story.
It's sort of become lost, and it had sort of, developed into a sort of, not embarrassment, but just sort of what do we do with this? And essentially, from the end of the reality war, that was my sort of feeling. I think I said it on a stream around the time that it feels like a Peter Green moment all over again. I think that was last year sometime. I can't remember which one when it was, but it felt like that sort of moment that where do we take this? Where do we go? We're a bit lost, and it does feel like that. It really does.
I think that even though the ratings were not optimal, by the end of the McCoy era, I think there was still a general feeling of, the show still had more to do. It still had potential.
No, I would agree.
Which led to the explosion of creativity, which became colloquially as the Wilderness Years, whether it was through, the New Adventures. I think I've said this before, I think the Doctor Who magazine hit absolute heights of creativity because they didn't have the show on the air anymore. And everybody's creativity and ingenuity just exploded because there was still potential in where the show left off. That potential in where this iteration left off, I don't see any of it. Nobody's inspired by the last couple of years.
Lots of comments here about Russell T Davies in the live chat, in particular, Gary, for worse and for better. Where Russell went wrong was thinking that people didn't want science fiction. He thought they wanted a fantasy show. Yet shows like Silo and Mandalorian were entirely science fiction. Gordon Hudson, I don't agree with this. I think that Doctor Who is a fantasy show that does science fiction just as it does horror and thrillers. I see Doctor Who as a fantasy show myself, but I know what you're saying. I think you're right in that this time Russell thought he could be prescriptive in his programming with Doctor Who and didn't have the ear, the eye for not just the great British public or the global audience that he was trying to court, but how pop culture had moved on and what people looked for in a show like Doctor Who. Also, I think the Mandalorian's fantasy and not science fiction as well. But I won't hold that against you. And we've got another comment here. This is an interesting one from Toon Army before we take a break, because the Doctor Who fan base has become toxic. The amount of personal abuse Russell's received. I'm glad Russell has gone. He can now write whatever he wants. So Toon Army seems to be on the side of Russell T Davies there, that he's become the victim of personal abuse. I mean, I'm not going to co-sign any abuse that anybody gets of a personal nature, but receiving a certain degree of negative feedback does come with the territory of not just putting together a show like this and putting it together, laying it before a mainstream audience. But let's not forget, this is a show that's made with public money, with the BBC license fee. People care about this show. They don't consume it in a passive way. So whilst, again, I'm not going to endorse any abuse of any kind, especially of a personal nature, Russell knew what he was getting into. He's steeped in the television industry and more visible than most to general members of the public. Not many producers of TV shows that I can think of where you can put a face to the name, even if people know the name. Russell's been a willing participant in that. So with the best one in the world, I can't get on board with what you're saying, although I understand why you're trying to stand up for the guy. Let's take a break now. I think it's time for a break for a few minutes. Obviously, there's a lot more to say, a lot more to digest But the ideal white pill has to be the Type 40 Live Doctor Who ad break. It's coming up right now, so don't go away. We'll be back, as always, in a couple of minutes.
Join Doctor Who on his new travels in the Doctor Who DVD files. Every disc features 2 full episodes from the Doctor's dramatic return
I am the god of all Daleks.
to his latest adventures.
You are wonderful.
And the companion fact files show you his history, his friends, and his enemies. The Doctor Who DVD files at your newsagent now.
Whew, if you'd seen me this morning, rotten cold, market day ahead, wondering how I'd get through, till the wife told me, here, she says, day nurse, she says. What nurse, I says? Day nurse, she says.
Day Nurse, the new daytime cold relief from the night nurse people. Relieves shivers, headache, runny nose, sore throat and cough, all together but without drowsiness, so you can keep going through the day.
You'll get through easily, the wife says. And she was right.
New Day Nurse from Beecham, all-round cold relief that helps you through the day.
The new Doctor Who toy collection, featuring the 12th Doctor action figure and all your favourite characters.
Daleks are the supreme beings.
Join the Dalek Empire with this awesome Dalek attack vehicle. Let the invasion begin and battle the Doctor through time and space.
Exterminate.
Connect the time zone playsets. Build bigger adventures. Become the Doctor with the new touch control sonic screwdriver. The ultimate Doctor Who toy range from Character.
Only one of these people has Scholl thermal insoles. Thermal insoles really keep your feet warmer. With a thermal insulator, plus this amazing aluminized film, originally designed to combat sub-zero temperatures in space. You've got the thermal insoles, haven't you?
Yes.
Scholl thermal insoles keep the heat in your feet.
Welcome back. Welcome back. We're returning to this special edition of Type 40 Life. We're ready and comfortable. The past, the present, and the future of...
He's not wearing that in this weather.
The past, the present, and the future of Doctor Who. This time we're looking at a monumental announcement from the BBC, which bring hopes of a Christmas special this year to a sad close, marking the cancellation, too, of new and all new Doctor Who. Plenty to chat about over a biscuit and a hot drink or a cold drink, a stiff drink even. I don't know. Yeah, a generation has grown up with new Doctor Who, just as Charlotte was saying earlier on. Between us, obviously, our memories, our feelings about this are going to be very particular to us, aren't they? The Doctor is once again in distress, but are we? That is the question. Welcome back to the panel here. I've got Charlotte Shields with me again there, who's been sharing some sentimental memories there of growing up with a new series of Doctor Who. David Milling on the crease once again with a sporting analogy for every scenario you could possibly imagine, and we wouldn't change him for the world. And our transatlantic buddy as well, Mr. Gary Akers, the retro doc, ready to disperse more pearls of wisdom.
Not wearing my thermal insoles, unfortunately.
Are you wearing your shorts, Gary? Like Roger Delgado?
I do have my shorts on, but I do not have my thermal insoles.
Well, I am pleased to hear it. Can I just say they don't work either? A Jaffa cake is a cake, not a biscuit, but I'll leave that one up to the chat to decide.
I'm glad that Roger is preserving his modesty there in this fabulous image from the early 70s. Dirk McDurkeyface. Oh, hello,
I
Dirk.
like that.
Says a new generation has rejected modern Who. Well, the hoped for influx certainly has. And Greg suggests that the last couple of actors in the role have received a lot of online abuse. Why would anyone want the role? You're talking about the doctors. No, they haven't. Come on, Greg. Come on. They haven't at all. Ncuti Gatwa and Jodie Whittaker aren't online. They don't go online, and I haven't seen any online abuse directed at them. I've seen negative reactions to the screened material that features them, And obviously, some people are more polite about that than others, but I don't think they've received any online abuse myself. There could be a cartoon special, says Chris Chatfield. He's straight for the 2D, and lots more comments as well. Show us your insoles, says Peter Harrington.
I'm barefoot, Pete. You don't want to see that.
No, some people might pay for that, Gary.
We're joined by Liam Neeson's chin and Davey96 as well. Good to have you with us too. Lots more people rolling in. And people have enjoyed the ad break. The ad break as well. And Mr. Matt is with us too, talking again of 1989. It does seem to be bringing back a lot of memories for people as we've been looking through this announcement, this official announcement from the BBC update on the future of Doctor Who. Our next portion takes us to one man in particular. You could say he's the man we love to hate, some of us, or hate to love. People have very complex feelings about each Doctor Who showrunner for one reason or another. Russell T Davies remains one of the most powerful men in British entertainment and one of the most prolific screenwriters of the last 3 decades, certainly on home soil, with so many memorable drama series, as well as that incredibly successful original relaunch of Doctor Who to his name. But this has been the biggest failure of his career, the most public of embarrassments, as his last screened episode was the butt of jokes even on shows on the BBC itself, such as Dead Ringers, and most recently on Saturday Night Live over on Sky. Russell T Davies did join in the conversation pretty quickly after that original press release from the BBC. I think it was around an hour later, but not in any kind of official way. He was over on Instagram, which is his social media platform of choice. I understand a lot of people have been blocked by him, but he went with a cartoon, one of his own cartoons, a gifted cartoonist. It has to be acknowledged, Russell T Davies, and this rather beautiful, simple line and colour drawing of the TARDIS disappearing with its customary warp. It was paired with a body of text here, which I find that these are so difficult to read, aren't they, on Instagram, all of this. It looks like so much, all of those words, to say anything of substance. Let's find out. Let's see what Russell T Davies has got to say for himself on this. Various graphics and emojis are in the body of this. I thought the one at the bottom was a toilet. I thought it was a U-bend at first, which was... It's meant to be a tornado of sorts.
I think it's a tornado. I did think it could be a loo, Pat. Yeah, it did look like a loo.
Old David, doesn't it? Apparently not. So let's see what the old windbag's got to say for himself one last time. Okay. Russell T Davies started with, and so goodbye, all caps, goodbye. And so goodbye from me to Doctor Who, but hello to a big new future for the show. How can he be so confident? It's fuck all to do with him. And hello to a big new future for the show as the BBC announces it's putting the show out to tender. Yeah, we know that, Russell. Thanks for recapping that for us. He moves on to say, as a result, there won't be a Christmas special. Again, we knew that already. But here's where things get very interesting. We only cooked that up to guarantee a future when no one knew what would happen. But now we do know, there's no need for it. You'll have to wait a bit longer for new Doctor Who. But you'll be waiting for more Doctor Who than a one-off. So it's worth it. Even though he's got no idea who could possibly make it or how any of us feel about it at all. We only cooked that up to guarantee a future when no one knew what would happen. Charlotte, quelle surprise.
Well, Billy sort of let that cat out the bag, didn't she? When she basically said, oh, it was like 2 months before the air date I got the phone call. But the beginning is so Russell, isn't it? It's all positive and brilliant, and it's this new future, like you said, but there's no details about this new future. It's very clear the BBC's been vague, but Russell has to put a shiny sort of bow in it and make it sound good. But like you said, this is where it gets interesting when he starts talking about no script, and they only cooked it up, and just that to me is that shows perfectly Russell's attitude of just let stuff fly. It doesn't matter if we make it or not. Let's just announce a special. Like, it's so lackadaisical, isn't it? It's so like, I don't have to think about the consequences of my own actions.
Yeah.
Because he probably knew that he was out the door. So it's going to be somebody else's problem to fix.
What a tosser.
Well, the important thing to remember, Charlotte, we cooked that up. Not
yes,
him.
Who's the we?
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good point, Gary. Who's the we?
Who are the co-conspirators? Obviously, we can't blame Disney for this. In fact, I'm not a big fan of Disney at all, but I don't hold them responsible for any of this shit. Who did they cook that pearl up with? Who are the guilty parties? Let us know in the comments. As a result, there won't be a Christmas special. We only cooked that up to guarantee a future when no one knew what would happen. But now we do know. There's no need for it. This is kind of what you were saying, Gary, in that, oh, there's no need for this. It can't have been that good. It was just a stopgap. And is it really that easy? Is Doctor Who actually quite an easy show to just throw any old shit at the wall? Or even if it's for people's Christmas Day, or anything will do, just bang that out and get it out, and that'll hold the door for them.
Well, this is only the first intimation in his entire post about there was some less than truthful things going on. I think the next portion will show the meat of it. But there's no the word cook up. We cook that up. That's clearly, implies them, you can see them sitting around a table. Oh, what can we do to, string people along, string fans along to, make them think that, we know what we're doing. We've got something coming. That the word cooking it up, I think, is really like intentional and a big, kind of up yours to the fans, which will be confirmed in the next portion that we're going to see. That leaves no doubt.
Because obviously at the moment, so far, it's, don't worry. It's a sort of arm around your shoulder. Don't worry. It'll all be worth it in the end. We may have screwed you royally. We may have misled you. We may have disappointed you.
Isn't there such a tone of self-satisfaction to that? We only cooked that up to guarantee a future. It's like it's so dismissive.
You see, cooking up in a legal definition, is a sort of dishonest process with intent to deceive.
Yeah.
And so if you cook up a defense, if you cook up a sort of reason for doing something, it normally infers, and I'm not saying it applies in this case, to be very legal about things, but it can mean to we'll just invent something just to just be a bit deceptive about what's going on, and
throw the dog a
just
bone.
to sort of throw the dog a bone, keep people happy, kick the can down the road, and just to stop people speculating. It doesn't cook it. The phrase "cooked up," "cook that up," or "cooking it up" is not a phrase I like to hear from a professional. In any industry, whether that be writing, whether that be acting, whether that be in the police, justice, health service, education service, no matter what, accountancy. Well, you all know cooking the books comes from a accountancy. So it's just not a really good phrase to use. I'm playing the ball here, not the man. Okay,
Yeah.
I am absolutely saying, if you want people to read something that you're putting out in a sort of goodbye, and to leave people with a good impression of you, I would never advise using the phrase "cook that up" or "cooking it up." It just is not a good phrase to use.
And then it follows with the whole, you'll have to wait a bit long, the whole about waiting for long, but it's worth it. So in effect, he's saying, look, we lied. I'm admitting we lied, but you're going to get more Doctor Who at the end. So stop your whining, shut up, and go away.
This reads like a transcription of some sort of confession, a police tape confession of some kind from an interrogation. Okay, let's move on and see what else.
It's like from an episode of Juliet Bravo. It really is.
Oh God, Danny Sparks will be in with a mug of tea. Okay, so it's worth it. It's worth it! Exclamation point from Russell. He goes on to say, and this is where the gloves come off, isn't it, Russell? For the record, there was no script. I never wrote it. And no actor was ever approached to play the next Doctor. You may disagree. Fine. Sit in that chair and wait to be proved right. You'll be waiting a long time.
Oh.
And he's got his little picture of the chair.
He couldn't help himself, could he? He had to have a last little dig.
Yeah.
A last little
This is where it gets nasty. This is where we start to see the real Russell T Davies that people in the TV industry have been telling me about for several years.
Well, this is the
petulant
Russell
prat who's used to getting things his own way.
Well, this is the Russell who, by his own words in that podcast a while ago, admitted that he remembers people who give him bad reviews years and years after the fact. He remembers people that deny him opportunities, and when he can rub it in their faces, basically he will. That's the impression Russell gave. And this is why he's getting royally sort of taken to task for this bit especially, and I think it's very right that he is. For multiple interviews, or in the Doctor Who magazine, or in other media opportunities, he maintained there was a script.
Yeah.
He kept that line. He didn't go into detail. He knew he was clever enough to know to not go into detail and to not promise too much. But he said there was a script.
Yeah.
Even
not
said
just
in
him.
Doctor Who even said in the Christmas edition of Doctor Who magazine that it contained words like Winternox and all this, that, and the other, and some other words I can't remember.
Yeah, we've got that here. This is in Russell's regular column. Here's what used to be called the production notes, where he delights in teasing people with scripts that he's got coming up. And he did indeed say in that edition, next December, I'll be here to trumpet and toot about the 2026 Christmas special. It contains these three words: Bafflers, Winternox, and Village. There may not have been. I think Russell is bullshitting us. He's deceiving us here. He's splitting hairs. There may not have been a shooting script, Russell, but there were drafts of scripts. I'm going to call
there's
a liar
also the
liar.
possibility. There's also the possibility that those were the only three words that he actually had written.
There's that too.
From the
Don't
script.
Don't forget what Murray Gold said, and I'm not. I don't know what went
now,
on.
Remind people what Murray Gold said on the podcast interview he gave in January.
Yeah, he said there are about 6 different versions, 6 different scripts going around, dependent on various sorts of situations that might occur. And I don't believe that
one of them's lying. I don't believe that Murray Gold was lying.
I think
David that the liar was lying.
You know, because Russ. I mean, where'd you go with it? I mean, where'd you go? Who's lying and who's telling the truth? Who knows? But the thing is, Murray Gold has very seldom given interviews. And I don't think that you know, I don't know Murray Gold. I don't know Russell. Okay. Russell tends to speak with a certain amount of bombast, and Murray Gold doesn't. Okay. Russell has admitted to lying to people before. To my knowledge, Murray Gold hasn't admitted to lying to people before when he talks about Doctor Who.
Why would he?
Why would he? You make up your own minds. But the thing is, we have evidence of those three words: Baffles, Winternox, and obviously Village in the Doctor Who magazine. We have evidence of the fact that he told the BBC executives of what he had plans, and they were left open-mouthed and amazed and shocked. We have evidence of Murray Gold's interview. Now, whilst there may not have been shooting scripts, as you said, there were no doubt probably treatments. There were no doubt probably synopses. There were no doubt probably story outlines. So effectively, Russell could be saying, well, there never was a shooting script. Well, then, you know, tell us that there wasn't a shooting script. But, you know, why say in those two occasions that, you know, I've told the BBC what it's all going to be about. The special is going to contain these three words, and I'll be back next year to trumpet about it. And then you get the Murray Gold thing. So the evidence doesn't look favourable to the fact.
Then there's the fact, David, that we know from our multiple trusted sources that this special was due to film in February and March. They can't film the thing without a script. I've spoken to people who were contracted to work on that, who had allocated, who had booked their time and had to go and find other work. Russell?
Yeah.
You're lying again.
What happened around February and March, okay, in the BBC? A new Director General was announced because the previous Director General had to resign over various things that had gone on, okay, previously. Another scandal. And
that was
so you get
a scandal before, and there's been 3 or 4 scandals since. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, that was over an editorial problem. That was sort of swept under the carpet a little bit, and then it came back up again. And so he had no choice but to go. So there was a changing of the guard. So when there's a changing of the guard, generally everything seems to be sort of reviewed. Okay, and I'm not saying that the two are linked, but it is a bit of a coincidence as to why suddenly then something just halted. Is it linked? Maybe, maybe not. But I just think that there has been too much said and written that would cast doubt on the issue around the writing of something. As you mentioned, that people were contracted to give them work to begin the production. So what changed around that time for things to sort of stop? Yes, there was a changing of the guard with the Director General. There may have been other sort of issues, cast availability. There may have been a whole review. It could have been a number of things, but something definitely happened around that period of February and March. Something obviously happened.
Charlotte?
Yeah, and he didn't exactly say what Billy was, but he did make a statement, I think, not too long after that episode went out with Billy's face appearing, that basically said, oh, there's a plan, or there's a story or something about Billy. I can't remember the exact words, but he basically hinted, oh, there's a reason for that face in a statement.
He said, I haven't written the script, but I know exactly what happens in it.
That's it. And I think that was in relation to Billy of some description. You even had, and that's the other thing that you sort of hinted at before. It's not just Russell that's had to have this facade for the last couple of months. Billie Piper has had to play this
Poor
game.
Billy.
She's had to go to conventions and have fans ask her, "Are you the next Doctor?" She's had interviews where she's been promoting Wednesday or other things, nothing to do with Doctor Who, and they've asked her about Doctor Who and what's happening in the future. And you can tell in some of those responses she was playing the PR game very well, God love her, but she couldn't really say anything. So it's not just, and this is what I think's the most frustrating aspect of this. Russell sort of need to always be the showman and always be positive and everything's fine. It's actually been affecting other people, and that's when it becomes more than just Russell told a couple of porkies maybe. Like there's more consequences around this, and like you
obviously
said,
nobody died, but a lot of people are inconvenienced, and people do feel misled, and not for a short period of time either. This was a sizable stretch of time. Russell finished off by saying this, now I'm as excited as anyone to see what comes next. Will they keep the theme tune? Will they lose the blue box? Will they bring back the drive-in? It's all up for grabs, which is so Doctor Who, exciting and unpredictable and new. Here comes the future. Warp, warp. And then you get his lavatory bowl there on the old on the picture, Gary.
All right. So when I first read this, as my jaw moved closer and closer to the floor, at the unmitigated, arrogance of the whole thing, I thought, first of all, he would have done himself a bigger favor by posting just the cartoon. But as Charlotte has said, he can't help himself. Second, I would give anything to know what the bigwigs at the BBC, especially those who, as we've said, mentioned the existence of the special four. I'd give anything to see their faces as they read this thing from him, because he's basically throwing them under the bus, potentially, as part of the we who were intentionally deceptive for whatever reason. If it's true, I'm sure they didn't want that to get out. So I'm sure they loved reading this, final big kind of like up yours from Russell. But, the image that popped into my head, because I wasn't at the point yet of assuming maybe Russell's lying about the script thing. I was just taking what he said on its face. And my reaction to that is like, okay, so then fandom collectively is Charlie Brown and Russell is Lucy pulling out the football, basically. That's what he's painting himself in this. I think it's very appropriate that this era ends with a final display of Russell's huge passive-aggressive arrogance and utter contempt for the fans, where he can unashamedly admit that he and the BBC have been flat out lying to everybody's faces. If anyone out there is an apologist for RTD after this, I don't think anything will convince you. But I find it really interesting that Russell would rather be seen as an abject liar than to make the humiliating admission that the BBC probably flushed whatever ideas he did have for the special. It's like he can't admit, oh, I presented them a lot of ideas. They said, no, we don't want that. Do you have anything else? No. Okay, thank you. He'd rather admit and be seen as a total liar than to make some kind of humiliating admission like that, because as we've talked about many times before, he proudly proclaimed, nobody tells me no. Well, I guess now we know what happens when somebody tells him no. He throws everybody under the bus and kind of like storms off. But I also love the fact that he ends it. Will they keep the theme tune? Will it be the blue box? So basically, it's inconceivable. So it basically, like, if I leave, they're going to basically have to rework this franchise from the ground up without me. Because without me, they're not going to have anything. They might have to redo the theme tune. They might have to, change the box. It's like, yeah, Russell, okay, that one last little, display of your little arrogance there. I mean, this is just so passive aggressive. It's astonishing.
This feels like he's flipping off the entirety of the fan base to me.
Yeah.
This is a tone that I've never seen from Russell before. It's not something that's particularly surprised me. As I say, his reputation goes before him. Obviously, none of us are all good. None of us are all bad.
Could you imagine if JNT had said a similar thing?
Ooh, he just never would have. He never would have. I know that JNT wasn't perfect, but no, never.
You know, because a lot of people have compared Russell T Davies to the end of the JNT era. Unfairly, I have to say, unfairly. The situations were completely different, but
I see this as Russell T Davies, because JNT felt a burden of responsibility that he carried with him for the rest of his life, that he was sat in that chair when Doctor Who ended in 1989. With Russell T Davies, I see an overgrown man-child who's never failed so publicly before, and this is how he takes failure. When the audiences reject his work, his ideology, his teachings, his instruction, this is how he behaves. When the fandom who used to treat him with reverence say, well, hang on, Russell, you've crossed a few lines here, we're not on board with this, and when there's even a limit to that, this is how he reacts, with one giant middle finger. And you're quite right, throwing colleagues under the bus. And obviously the BBC would not have signed off this. This is a personal statement on his own social medias as he leaves behind this cultural institution in considerably worse shape than when when JNT did, and when Russell T Davies picked it up in 2002, as I understand it was when he first started talking to the BBC about it. It's incredible that in such a short period of time, where we've had screened content out of this production team, which has only been, how long has it been? 2.5 years. We were waiting for it for nearly as long to deliver just over 20 episodes of something in a short period of time, admittedly, but the content that has pleased next to no one. And yet that is the tone that he's happy to strike as he disappears off into the sunset. In my view, an absolute failure, having made a complete tit of himself, and in shame.
What noticed me
up the garden path in the way that he has, and yet again, it's a miracle that Doctor Who managed to survive as an IP after what that
person
Chris Chibnall did to it from between 2018 and 2022. But this, no. What this means for Bad Wolf going forward, I don't know, because obviously before they took on Doctor Who, they hadn't put a foot wrong either. They were growing in scale, in reputation globally, and they have had 1 or 2 hit shows since Doctor Who was produced, in particular a period drama that we've talked about several times. And they've got numerous shows that are in various stages of production. They don't seem to be in any danger at all. But association with Russell T Davies, I think it's harmed them. I think
how can you
drag them down?
How can you interpret? You're right; they have other productions, but how can you, in this specific instance, how can you interpret the BBC coming out with their statement about we're putting out to professional tender be seen as anything but a professional embarrassment for Bad Wolf, because their contract wasn't up? And one last thing I just want to say about
I must have had options
about Russell is that I think every producer of the show since 1963, so basically everybody, and I'm including Philip Siegel from the TV movie, every show, in my opinion, based on reading all of their interviews with them over the years, they all saw themselves as caretakers of the franchise, custodians of the franchise, to do the best they can until the next person then took up the baton. I would include in that Stephen Moffat, probably not Chibnall, although I think Chibnall's biggest crime was just like a complete lack of vision for the show. But with Russell here in that statement, contrasted to that, this shows that actually he thought that they were his toys to play with. Everything was under his complete control. He had final say, and whatever successors, be hanged. That this was his property. He was the arbiter, with the whole, this isn't who we are now, the walking Davros. Oh, this isn't who we are in 2020, whatever. It's like he was not the custodian. He was not the caretaker.
That wasn't even insinuated. Anybody who'd got any criticism to level it at all, any constructive feedback worded in a direct way, he would just say things like, well, tough. That's your problem. And more often than not, he would just tell them to fuck off, David.
Yeah.
And that's my issue. That is my issue. Toonami quite rightly said that Russell had a lot of horrible abuse. Yes, he has. He has had that, and that is completely unacceptable. Absolutely abhorrent, and nobody should have that abuse subjected to them whatsoever. Not defensible whatsoever. Completely reprehensible. But and this is not a but what I remember clear as day was when I believe a guy, a really nice chap, put I think may have been on the autism spectrum as well, put a very reasoned, constructive criticism or critique of what they didn't like about the program. And Russell's response to that person was fuck off. Now, the thing is, for me, criticism, fair criticism that is respectful, that is evidenced, that is well written, you should expect completely from anybody. Nobody has to like or dislike what you do. Okay? If you find 50% agreeing with you or disagreeing with you, you're doing pretty well. Okay? Because nobody normally gets more than 50% of people agreeing with them. So that is one thing. Absolute hateful abuse, completely unacceptable. But if someone's giving you feedback and saying, I didn't like this because, I didn't like that because, I'm not enjoying this because, or I really like this because, but I didn't like that, or I don't understand this, to simply turn around and tell them to F off. Come on, even if that's a joke, you don't do that. You really, really don't do that to people who are consuming your work.
Consumers, license fee payers who were probably looking forward to this material screening, who were open to be won over by any component part of this.
Absolutely, and that is my main criticism of again, I'm playing the ball, not the man. To respond like that as a professional, to me, is not acceptable. You can debate ad infinitum how someone can do a, this, that, and the other farewell sort of thing. But I think there is an and I know, I always bring it back to sport. There is an oft used phrase, which is, it doesn't matter how you celebrate a win. It's how you are in defeat that matters, and what qualities you show in defeat. Now, to me, the last two series of Doctor Who was a loss. Okay, it would be, in a sporting vernacular, it would be, a 10-0 drubbing at home to your closest rivals. It was a thrashing. It wasn't good. So what do you do? Are you magnanimous in defeat, or do you come out punching and fighting and looking a bit like a sore loser. And that is the thing. For what is being said there, so just so you know, this never happened, that never happened, and this never happened, and I'm off, but it's going to be really good because someone else is taking over, and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we just invented that. So as a bit of a bridge, because I wrote us into a corner because, you know, it was always going to end up with that Shooty was leaving after 2 seasons because all that was planned, and we didn't. No. That's how we planned it from the start. And come on, just say all you have to say. Less is more. I'm leaving Doctor Who. Thanks to the fans. Thanks for some wonderful memories. The BBC are going to go ahead with something exciting and something new. See you out there. Best of luck. You know, and that actually is a really positive way of saying, okay, I'm off, but the show never, you know, my song may be ending, but the legend lives on.
That's
you
not
know,
how
the
he's
story
wired.
never ends.
He's not wired that way.
Bad Wolf's song is also ending Bad Wolf's Bay, Bad Wolf's Cry. They published a statement as well, not long after Russell T Davies onto their social medias, and they simply said, it's been a joy and privilege to have been at the helm of the TARDIS alongside the brilliant Russell T Davies. Doctor Who is and always will be a show that shines light into the darkness, and it has been an absolute honour to have been the torchbearer for 26 episodes with the BBC and Disney Plus. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through space and time, and most of all, thank you to the fans. Alonso, and then you get those 2 little heart emojis with the plus and the blue box. So that's how they started out when the 60th anniversary specials were being filmed 4 years ago now, if you remember those socials that it all first started appearing like that. This is a relatively harmless and jolly statement that says something, but says nothing we didn't already know.
Well,
and for such a high profile, for such a high profile production company to be passing on the baton of easily their most high profile show that they've worked on, something that defines them as part of their own name, Bad Wolf. I can't help but see this too.
You see, that's classy.
How slim it is. Also, this seems like an acceptance of nobody's going to miss us. Let's just quietly depart, Gary. Is my reading. But again, I could be reading things into this, but that's how I see it.
Well, and it's also unfortunate that they couldn't go to the trouble of spelling Russell T Davies' name right.
Correct.
On their own socials.
That's the only thing that I'm totally fixated on. I thought maybe that's their middle finger to Russell for ruining them. That well, we're not going to spell his name right.
Could be. We've also got this. We've also got this from Andy Pryor. Now, Andy's about to retire. He's Britain's most prolific casting director who's been attached to Doctor Who since it came back and has worked alongside Russell for most of their television careers. Andy Pryor said on Instagram, it's the end of a long, happy and thrilling era. 196 episodes, 8 Doctors, anything between 10 and 30 companions, depending on your definition, several thousand cast members. Thank you to each and every one of them. And the biggest thanks to my colleagues who invited me on board way back when and became my great friends, Russell and Julie Gardner, who's been suspicious in her silence again, not to mention the great years. What that says about Russell and Julie, I don't know. Not to mention the great years with Stephen Moffat and Chris Chibnall. So that's from Andy Pryor. He made a similar statement this time last year, but it was a bit less firm, shall we say. So that's to be expected. What else was he going to say? And we've also got this from Ian Levine, friend of the show, Ian Levine, Doctor Who legend, the saviour of the Daleks, said, they blatantly lied to us. This is 1989 all over again. Russell T Davies blatantly lied. I have never been so angry.
Well, that's
know
quite
what's-
angry then. If Ian's never been that angry,
This
my
is a
God.
dose of, obviously, this is Ian speaking on his own socials. Hello, Ian, if you're listening, if you're watching.
Yeah.
So,
That
but this is a dose of reality. This is how people really speak. This is how people really feel about this. And yes, those are florid press statements by people like Andy Pryor, who he's a bit of a gobshite, a supine individual from what I can see, who I wouldn't trust as far as I could throw him. He says the kind of stuff that they all say. But I think a lot of people are going to relate to the things that Ian has said right here.
The thing is, Dan, that is what I was on about with Russell's Instagram post. The one, look, okay, it can be saying nothing. It can be, oh, it's lovely and blah, 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 blah. But those responses are classy responses. Thanking everybody. We've had a good time. Thank you very much. We're moving on. That's what a classy response is. Rather than, we cooked this up and there was never this and there was never that and two fingers up to you and all this, that, and the other. And that is, for me, what sticks in my throat the most. And Bad Wolf, spelling his name wrong, that was quite amusing. And that hit me straight away as well. And Andy Pryor, you don't have to like a person. You don't have to, the person doesn't have to be liked. The person is there to do a job. They're there to, Bad Wolf for the production company, they were there to do a job. But still, they managed to thank the BBC. They managed to thank Disney. They managed to, be graceful is what I'm talking about. And that's retaining a certain amount of class. And Ian must be incredibly angry, because if he's never been so angry about this, then I fear for his blood pressure.
He's somewhat incredulous. We've got two further ones as well. This is from a friend of the show again, Keith Barnfather, who simply posted this to his Facebook, the end of an era for Doctor Who. And he was good enough to open a forum for people to chat with him about it, chat amongst themselves, however they felt about the end of New Doctor Who. Good for him. And DWAS, the Doctor Who Appreciation Society, they struck a different tone. They published a picture of Russell T Davies and Ncuti Gatwa there from the day that Ncuti was revealed as the next Doctor. Thank you, Russell T Davies and Bad Wolf. You were amazing. And two hearts just goes to show it takes all sorts. I mean, again, this is very diplomatic and very cozy, which I suppose that's what you'd expect from the unofficial Doctor Who Appreciation Society. They can't be seen to not be appreciative. I think that's the business model. It's sort of part, I think it goes with the territory, Charlotte. But this, to take us back to Russell T Davies' post, that's our summary, really, of what the main players have said. But obviously the mainest player of all, that's been Russell T Davies again over the last nearly 5 years since it was announced that he was coming back in with a declaration, with the trumpets blaring, Charlotte, and he leaves with the squeak of a door and a fart, even if it is a silent but deadly.
The thing that, because I will have to go in a couple of minutes, the thing that I really took away from that whole of Russell's statement is he was so fixated on this bright future. Think about the amount of times he spoke about future, you have to wait, but it's coming. I think that's because it's so much easier, isn't it, to talk about this promised future which has got no details, which hasn't got a date, instead of reflecting on your own mistakes, isn't it, Russell? It's so much easier to focus the conversation on I didn't do anything wrong, because the show's going to carry on. You're going to get Doctor Who. And I think he's very aware of, he will be known in fandom. Like you said, all the nice people who work with him will never say this, as in like the likes of Julie or Andy or other people. But in fandom, he will be remembered as the guy who took Doctor Who off the air. Yep. Who took Modern Who off the air. That's going to stick with him, and I think he is aware of that. So that whole statement is trying to fight against, no, it's going to come back at some point, you're going to get Doctor Who at some point, because in his heart of hearts, And I do think once you get past all the ego and all the bluster with Russell, he does know he's the one that did the absolute worst job when he came back. He, from the beginning of the 60th, he made mistakes. And it's funny that you put up all those pictures of the things we've had with this era. Because like I said, I've been reflecting the last couple of days.
Yeah.
And the thing that I think got the most joy and got the best fan reaction was those little vignettes we got with Tales of the TARDIS. I think that's what people are going to remember from this era, because we got Stephen back on screen, we got Vicky back, we got Fraser as Jamie back. Those returns, which Modern Who has been needing for years but never did. Those actors, I think, have been served terribly by Modern Who, because it's been very selective about the bits of classic it does want to celebrate at times. It's been very selective of what it does want to sort of claim as part of the legacy of this show. The 60th should have had one of those old companions from the beginning of the era in it. It should have had Carolyn Ann Ford, should have had Peter or Maureen or somebody, because we're so lucky those guys are still with us, that they can still come back. We don't have that luxury with Bill. We don't have that luxury with all those other actors that are no longer with us. So I think that's going to be the legacy of Russell. When it came to the main show, he completely did everything wrong. He had the wrong calls. But the little spark of hope and the little bit of positivity was those actors coming back. And in the future, we've got this year, we've got a returning episode. We've got missing episodes back. I know it's nothing to do with Russell, but that's going to be our future. The likelihood of what Film is Fabulous can do. But yeah, I think it's going to be a very time for us to think back, to sort of enjoy what we can about Who, because I refuse to let this current era tarnish the memories of before. Those Doctors still stand, those stories still stand, and I will enjoy watching them, whatever.
It may amuse you to see some of the response, Charlotte, to Russell T Davies' Instagram statement, how the fandom could be taking it. This might give you some ideas. So this petition is up to... so the target is 5,000 signatures.
Where do I sign?
At the time of the screenshotting, it was at 4.2 thousand. A petition to get Russell T Davies arrested was started by somebody within the Doctor Who community late yesterday. So if this was you out there, if this was you, if this was you,
post it on Facebook. I'll sign it.
This is how it's going, Charlotte. So I'm thinking that people aren't taking it that well. That's the impression I get. Not that well.
And it's fully deserved in Russell's door, and it's not all Russell. It's easy to blame it all on Russell, but this is why I also think Bad Wolf are out the door. They co-signed his stuff.
Yes.
They could have stopped it.
Fair enough.
They are very much Julie, Jane, and Phil. How many years in the television industry have they worked? How many shows have they worked on which have been successes?
Heaven knows.
So they're also a part of this. It's not just Russell. It's easy to round on him.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's also other people. But I think we are in interesting times. And just to end on a bit more positive, because I did get a little bit sort of sad again.
It's perfectly understandable.
Go watch some classic Who. You won't be sad.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Gunfighters.
Everybody, no, not for a while. Just enjoy Doctor Who, folks. We've still got those episodes and those stories, and we've got those amazing actors who are still going to cons. You've got the likes of Peter with his podcast doing that gorgeous tribute to Bill. So Doctor Who is alive. It's just not on screen for a while, I think. So enjoy what you can.
Good night, Charles.
Good night, my lovely.
Nice. Doctor Who will return, said the big graphic. Maybe, maybe not. But we can guarantee that Charlotte Shields will be returning. Thank you, everybody, for the comments in the live chat, for the rows of laughing emojis everywhere. People are venting, and I can't say I blame them. People are appreciative of Charlotte's words there. Of course, why wouldn't you be? Why wouldn't you be? Thank you, everybody, for all of the comments so far. Well said, says Old School Plays. Matthew Pounder suggests a restraining order. Who on? Russell or us? Who?
Or Charlotte? No, surely not.
Russell's not allowed to type anything on a word processor for the rest of his life.
The thing is, and I've been thinking this for a long time now, and when you leave something, a job, a role, whatever it may be, and you've had your glory years, seldom they happen again should you return. And there's the old adage of never return to something, always go forward.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting, I think it might have been at a Radio Times sort of gig or something, whereby there's Russell, Chris Chibnall, and Stephen Moffat there. No, it was just Russell and Stephen Moffat. And Stephen Moffat was saying, do you ever this was during Chris Chibnall's time. Did you ever have ideas like, oh, that could be a Doctor Who story, or that could be a Doctor Who baddie, and and Russell's going, no. And Stephen Moffat goes, really? Because I do, and I have all these sort of ideas and sort of thing. And I just think that's the thing. If you've exhausted the well, so to speak, in your first time, leave it there. Put a full stop at the end of the sentence and be proud of what you've achieved, because he was superb. He was great. He was amazing. When he left at the end of 2009, it was sort of like, I don't think you should ever go back to something that you were successful at the first, a second time, because after a gap, because it will always be compared with that time, and you will never achieve as greater heights as you did then. You will only, you risk ruining what you did initially. And I think that can be the same for any job, in any role, in any walk of life. And I think Russell has found out the hard way that actually, by going back, he's not only the person that reinvented Doctor Who and gave it a new audience and made it really exciting and made it into such a popular program, but he is also the person who has, for now, signed the death warrant of it and has become the executioner of what he created. And that is a real bookend, and I don't want to be gloomy, and I don't want to end on a note, but
no, I don't think you're overdoing it at all. I think that's right, bang on.
And I think that's really, really sad. And I can't feel, I'm beyond feeling angry now. I'm just very sad, and I'm very,
David,
just very sad that it has come to all
I can
this.
advise you, don't get sad, get even.
Yeah,
get email. Join the petition. You mentioned Stephen Moffat a moment ago. Stephen hasn't said much, but he has spoken. He's spoken to the Radio Times. The Radio Times haven't said much, which really isn't like them when it comes to Doctor Who. Stephen Moffat has given they call it an interview. Come on. The Radio Times are a bunch of blaggers. He's given a quote to the Radio Times, which simply says this: "No clue what's going on. All news to me. No idea what's coming either. But brave heart, everyone. It's a cliffhanger. The Doctor always survives those."
Don't believe him.
You don't believe him either.
I don't believe that. No, look, Stephen Moffat. I believe it. The last part. Yeah. Very well meant sentiment. Of course, I agree with him. Of course.
Yeah.
Stephen Moffat, one of the most well-connected people in the in the BBC. he has no clue that any of this was about to happen, going on all news to me, I throw a red flag at that.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it either.
I cannot believe that this blindsided him, that he sat down with the rest of us, turned on our computers yesterday morning, and it's like, wait, they did what? Come on, Stephen, give me a break. The one thing I do really quickly want to say about Russell T. Davies, to kind of add on to what Charlotte and David were saying, I think that of course, in many ways, that what we've been discussing is kind of a self-inflicted wound. I think Russell, in his writing for the last 2-3 years, I think he was very true to the person he was now, which unfortunately everybody thought we were going to be getting 2005 Russell back, and we couldn't have been more wrong. But yeah, I think he was being true to what his own priorities were. But I think that the blame isn't only on him. I think, as Charlotte made the very good point, the blame is on Bad Wolf for not, policing him and saying no, and saying, for giving him carte blanche, whether they were intimidated by him or whether they just didn't care about that side of the production for whatever reason. I think Bad Wolf basically giving him free rein was a horrible mistake. I also think, as far as Disney goes, and I think on the hierarchy of blame here, I think Disney is at the low rung, but I think they do need to own the fact that they were throwing gobs of cash at Russell and going, here's money, and just hoping for the best, hoping things would turn out great, that they'd get a good production, but that throwing the money was the extent. Instead of saying, no, we'll give you the money, but we would like, some kind of, I don't know, even the most minimal of reviews to make sure that they were getting what they were going to pay for, that they weren't, surprised or shocked by just being handed an end product they weren't happy with. I think that if their involvement ended with just throwing money, and I may be wrong, but I'm just making a general point, that there should have been a little bit more of an oversight. But as far as Russell goes, I think for this era, I think Russell made Doctor Who for himself and not for the fans and not for the general audience. I think he was more concerned, as we've discussed countless times on this show, I think he was more concerned about espousing his own personal identity politics, fully funded by Disney, no less. And as we've seen here today, sticking it to the fans rather than being concerned with making quality family entertainment that was true to the legacy. So that kind of monumental self-absorption and selfishness, I think, resulted in the death of the show. Could anybody have brought back the show in 2005? I think Russell wasn't necessarily the only one who could have done it, and anybody else would have obviously had their own take and spin on it. Would it have been as successful? Who knows? But I think Russell was probably not the only one who at least could have made the attempt. But I think that only him being who he was and producing what he was and producing what he did, I think was the only thing that could have killed the show. So yeah, I think his legacy is going to be more weighted toward the fact that he killed it rather than that he brought it back.
Well, that's sad, and that is really tragic, because Doctor Who had almost become a sort of, it was being lampooned in TV adverts. It was. I remember the interview on Radio 4 that was included on the Death Comes to Time CD of people saying, yeah, it's done, forget about it, all this, that, and the other. And Sylvester McCoy was saying, no, we can still have something. It can still tell stories. And the nervousness that we approached the first episode of Rose was palpable in the fandom. And it was the relief when it came back, and the fact that I didn't have to go into WH Smith's and have the sad assistant say sadly on the till to me, "Would you like a copy of that Doctor Who magazine in a bag?" Whilst there was people buying top shelf magazines, shall we say, for the discerning gentleman, brazenly walking out with them. Yet it was me having a copy of Doctor Who magazine being asked if I wanted it in a bag, because it was perceivably more embarrassing than a grot mag. So, but the palpable nervousness that came back with the reintroduction and the overwhelming success that it became made it cool again to be a Doctor Who fan, and that was amazing. People were talking about it rather than being an embarrassing, clunky thing that I particularly loved and they derided. Was this really cool, wonderful thing? And for me, Russell was a hero for doing this.
Same.
And the worst bit is the fact that now that heroism for doing that, and for me as a fan and a long time fan of 46 years, to turn it into something that had poor characterization, poor plotting, poor storylines, unbelievable characters without a backstory, characters not developed, and into a school, into that playground joke again, and something to be embarrassed about and roll your eyes over. That is such a shame that that Gary's, what he said about his legacy being more clouded in failure is just such a real disappointment. And
if I can offer you consolation, David, I will say that Doctor Who's own iconography, Doctor Who's own legacy,
that'll live on.
Considerably wider, more lofty than Russell T Davies, and it will escape.
It will always live on.
Yeah,
out
I
of
believe
his
that. Yeah,
looming, falling shadow. The TARDIS, the Daleks, the Doctors, the things that stay with people, depending on the kind of fan you are. A lot of people like the speeches, for example, the music, the way it made them feel. That will gradually endure if people are given time. If people are given time to miss it. We've been talking about the huge announcement yesterday, not necessarily big on word count, but the seismic update on the future of Doctor Who there from the BBC on June the 10th at 11 a.m. in the morning. That is still rippling through the fandom and the mainstream media. It's all that's been on our minds. We've got into the bulk of it here to begin with. The story will doubtless continue to evolve, but the long and the short of it is the Christmas special isn't going to be happening. Doctor Who itself is out to tender. Who knows how long that will take? We'll be looking at that in greater depth too in the future, which means that no Doctor Who will be filming for the foreseeable future. It's out of production and to be continued. The last sight of the series, New Doctor Who, that began with 2005, was the appearance of the much-loved Billie Piper as Rose Tyler, as the Doctor. We'll probably never know.
Who knows?
It closed out RTD2 with, a whimper, a sly fart rather than a bang, drawing to a close 26 episodes, which have divided the devoted audience and, let's be honest, driven what very few members of the British public were turning up for it. It's driven the bulk of them away, and the ratings down to record lows in a really short period of time. I'm going to fall short of declaring the death of Doctor Who. I think let's not get previous with that. This is a big IP, and this isn't 1990 anymore. But as true as that is, popular culture has evolved as well. And there are other standards, or the productions themselves, and the way that those who handle them conduct their affairs and relate to their audience, which we can use as a yardstick, if you like. That brings to a close this discussion for the time being. Obviously, you can hit us up with more in the comments section. As always, this is a rolling story, not just in the news cycle, but obviously in that it is playing on all our minds. So we are here for you. Let us know your takes on every component part of it. And between now and whenever, we'll get stuck into it as best we can and work out the bullshit from the truth. The truth will always out, won't it?
This is Lord President Rassilon. Due to the interference of that idiot renegade, the Doctor, the universe is collapsing. Unfortunately, the Time Lords have no answer for this, and I am forced to call upon the services of Type 40 Podcast.
Oh, the TARDIS doors are open, everybody. Who did that? You've got to be careful when you leave the TARDIS doors open, because any little munchkin can just turn up, even late in the day, any little munchkin, any bloody hooligan. And when I say hooligan, I'm spelling that W-H-O. Of course, it's the chief hooligan.
Yes, lad. Yeah. Go on.
He's at the, what are you, in a disco?
Yeah, got the TARDIS behind me. There's a Dalek over there. Tomb of Cyber. Hold on, we got the Tomb of the Cybermen as well. Hold on.
Cafe?
I'm in Fab. Yeah, I am actually. Yeah.
I've always wanted to see that place.
Yeah, we got the Tomb of the Cybermen. Yes.
Are you having a pint with Russell?
Yeah. I'm having a pint with someone.
Yeah. If Russell shows up, send him our best wishes, would you?
Yes.
So what can you show us? What can you show us, Luke? Don't take us to the gents or anything nasty.
Here is the TARDIS in all its glory, and there is a lovely Dalek here.
Oh wow!
Lovely Dalek. Yes, and if I'm right, here's a Vok robot up here as well. There we go.
Nice. There
we go.
Awesome.
Yeah, but we got loads. There was a Cyberman, but yes, I finished work. So I'm recording podcast in Fort Lauderdale, but I'm not there. So we just finished now. So
Luke's not going to show us the 12 pints of beer on his table.
I am not. I am absolutely not. I'm not.
Good man, get it down, yeah. You've missed the thrust.
Yeah, I know.
Here on the show, but you're joining us for the final few strokes. You'll be pleased to learn. And so Doctor Who, Doctor Who won't be back anytime soon. That's the bad news. But stick with us at Type 40 and Type 40 Live for more of the impact. And how do Doctor Who fans respond once all the tears are wiped, Luke, and the cell phone has been thrown at the telly or whatever else, or you've got a few pints down your neck? How does the Doctor Who fandom react? Well, the same way that they usually do, with bursts of creativity. The occasion may be ugly this time, but there's no shortage of pretty pictures to distract us from all of it as we scroll through here on the view screen. Check these out. Fan artwork here inspired by the last 24 hours, Gary. We've got simply this.
Can I get that as a poster?
This is from Daniel Howson posting on X. It's more like it's been branded into the screen there, Luke. I do like this one quite a lot. I don't know if Daniel is pleased that Russell's gone or if this is some sort of damnation, but it's probably best that I don't know.
Did you say Daniel Howson? Is it Dan Howson? Dan Howson, who is the best wrestler in WWE right now. So I hope he gets that. But yeah,
Can somebody out there in Doctor Who land, of immense creativity, can somebody like make this into a song to the tune of the Hall & Oates song "She's Gone"? But make it "He's Gone" with appropriate lyrics. That will be great. Have it ready by next Thursday, please.
Yeah.
But as he was saying, Dan, this is probably the best time to be a Doctor Who fan, because in the wilderness years, the creativity of fandom kept the show alive. And now technology is more accessible. People are making fan films, books, audios. And now it's completely more accessible than it was in the 90s. So we should have a massive influx of people making their own stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my sound is very muffled. So I do apologize.
Clear as day.
Is it? Oh, okay. Yeah, it sounds muffled in my ears.
We can hear you perfectly. It's really strange.
But, brilliant. Don't buy a podcast mic, just buy some AirPods apparently. But no, I'm hoping now, because Doctor Who, the show has died, that creativity in the fandom will flourish. And we'll see everyone come out. We've got Phil's Doctor Who coming out now in the Scorpion. We've got Hooligans, we've got Newmans, we've got everything coming out. So I'm hoping the Doctor Who community will just flourish and so much creativity will bleed out in the show that it will just keep it going on forever and ever and ever.
Are you putting in for the tender, Luke?
People are loving your
for the tender.
Luke, last order, says Matthew Pounder. Doctor Who and the Cidermen, says
here we go.
Cider,
Here we
lager,
go.
bitter, or mild.
This is my first drink. I've just finished work, so don't look at me like that. I'm talking to someone. Yeah.
Says funky. People are loving it, Luke. People are loving it. David, my mate David Southall, my old schoolmate David Southall, is there in the live chat. Hey, folks, sorry, super duper late. Bet this has been a corker. Oh, it's corker, Dave. Go and do a bit of real life time traveling. Spool right the way back to the beginning, and you can hear all our obscenities and every detail of this cataclysmic collapse of the world's greatest science fiction and fantasy series at the hands of this chump, Russell T Davies. He's inspired lots of fan art, everybody, not just this one, but this fantastic cartoon, which is everywhere right now. Obviously, I know that AI has played a hand and a foot in this, but I think it does sort of sum things up quite well. Whoever you were who's worked some magic with a prompt or two there, well done. That's terrific. We've also got this exclusive look at the cover of the next edition of Doctor Who magazine, where Russell T Davies is the cover star, it would seem. They're not taking it well. They're not taking it well either. Jane Tranter sodding off, lying bastards, it says on the byline.
I love the Christopher Eccleston bit. Christopher Eccleston is laughing like a drain.
Russell wishes he ever looked that good.
I tell you, Luke, I've just thought of another Doctor Who reference. To the pub.
Go on.
The cask of Mandragora.
Hey.
Someone get Luke another drink.
Or here's another one. Here's another one, Luke. The hand of beer.
That's a good one.
So people are not that enamoured with Russell T Davies. He looks a lot more like Elvis Costello there, but I wouldn't be attracted to Russell myself. This is a blinder. I really like this. Again, don't know who's responsible for this. Russell T Davies fiddling whilst Rome burns in the background, everybody, very, very gleefully too. But burning TARDISes are also a theme of this 24 hours. We've got, courtesy of James David Chapman, the column figure of the police box there, set of lights on some cliffs there with smoke and crashing waves and various other things exposed to alien elements, yet symbolic of so much of the way I think we're all feeling the chaos inside us all, David. I think that's what this speaks to.
Peaky Blinders.
I don't like to see those photos, those pictures. I really don't. It makes me feel sad. But I've thought of another one, which is the gin dilemma.
Fuck off.
You asked
that's my favourite so far. Time to go on the lash. which is another one.
Just for turning up late, I'm going to make you do an after show
Go
now
on.
with David, where he's going to give you half an hour's worth of puns. It's going to be great. Yes. More burning TARDISes, everybody, and we've got this one here from Blue Box Artworks, where the TARDIS. So he hasn't just set the bastard on fire; he's shunting it out into space as well, and hitting it with lightning and actual planetoids. They're from the fabulous Blue Box Artwork over on X. You like this one, Gary?
I mean, the sentiment, as David has said, is sad, but this is top quality stuff.
Creativity which knows no bounds, everybody, and we do love our pretty pictures here at Type 40. So send more of it our way, or us its way, whatever, just so we can get it up on these big horrible walls before the whole thing has to come down.
Hey, Luke.
Yes, Gary.
Here's another one from the ever reliable Peter Harrington. Genesis of the Daleks.
Okay. Yeah.
not as good as a gin dilemma, I have to say.
Can I just say, I know. Before we go, I just want to actually say this, and if anybody in the chat has a problem with this, this is on me. This is Dan does. I was going to say this. I actually just want this. What has happened this week, of course, we're all mixed emotions about it, but Dan is too much of a professional and a gentleman to say this. All this is a massive validation of all of Dan's scholarship, his digging, his steadfastness in digging out the real truth of what's going on. People didn't want to hear it at the time. He got raked over the coals, unfairly. I mean, we all did on Type 40, but Dan more than most. All of this is just, and I think Dan at the very least is owed a massive apology from everybody who was, roasting him for being, saying lies and this, that, and the other thing. And all of this, I think, is a testament to, the good quality investigative reporting and presenting it to all of you. And Dan didn't know I was going to say that. He'll probably roast me later saying, Gary, you shouldn't have said that. But it's on my heart to say, because I just think he deserves massive kudos for everything he's done over the last month.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what to say. So thank you, Gary, David. It's appreciated. It's appreciated.
Hello, this is Sue Molden. On behalf of the team, I'd like to say how overwhelmed and extremely grateful we are to everyone who has donated so far. The response has been magnificent, and we are especially grateful to those who have pledged regular donations. A big thank you from all of us at Film is Fabulous.
We know that not everybody. Given the circumstances here with the cancellation of Doctor Who in the last 24, 36 hours, you can do that on us, of course, at the usual places, our social media, Instagram and X, at Type 40 Doctor Who. As ever, go and find us there, hit us up, drop us a DM, tag us, whatever you want to say, reach out to us over there. Join the Type 40 Facebook group too. Several discussions open already around our content, around the broader topic. The press release is in there, that original post, and there's lots of people venting their spleens, appropriating blame, and literally any opinion is welcome over there. There are some people, a small number of people, who are defending Russell T Davies. A small number, but seriously, all opinions are welcome over there. You can get some feedback into us through SpeakPipe as well. The link is in the description there, so you can leave us a voicemail, any kind of feedback at all, whether it's on this subject or the show or anything you want to say. You can leave that in confidence there at SpeakPipe. The link is in the video description. This is where we talk about all things Doctor Who, and where we were given this gleaming logo just 8 or 9 months ago. But that's the announcement after the announcement before has been given. And the shutters are coming down very, very slowly on Doctor Who. Stick with us at Type 40. You can find our previous discussions, including those reports that Gary was telling you about, there in the playlist there. All our programming, 290 odd episodes now of Type 40 Live, rolling news coverage, reports, special exclusive reports on breaking news stories and information from our various contacts. All of that's in there too. Our celebrations of stories and seasons, and Doctor Who figures, all of that is there to be rooted out like the gems that they are. Lots of evergreen content there in the playlist. Help yourselves. Or you can head over to type40.podbean.com for the Type 40 podcast. It's also available across all major podcatchers, including Audible, Spotify, Amazon, and Apple. A latest interview with the fabulous Ed Stradling, so generous with his time and candid with his memories, working on all those DVDs back in the noughties and up to present day, working on the Blu-rays too. Go and get that in your ears, as well as our back catalogue of reviews, previews, interviews, geek-outs, and deep dives. I suppose the only question left is what's your Christmas looking like, everybody? A family Christmas without Doctor Who on the telly? Some people think that might not be a bad thing on recent form, but this announcement, a brief announcement by some standards, contains so much that has disappointed a great many people, and obviously it does leave the reality wall as the final broadcast episode of what we've called New Doctor Who for the last 2 decades, even though some of us are more on board with that than others. Thank you, everybody, for your company. I think, even though I don't believe Stephen Moffat necessarily when he says all of this, I do respect the sentiment. Again, this is what Stephen Moffat had to say to the Radio Times. No clue what's going on. All news to me, he said, Luke. No idea what's coming either, but Braveheart, everyone, it's a cliffhanger. The Doctor always survives those.
It's very much a Manuel's "I know nothing" statement, isn't it? On Faulty Towers.
Luke,
I know nothing.
Hey, Luke, I think I have the mic drop episode date for you.
Gary.
Time Lush.
I was going to say, somewhere the tea is getting cold. Gary,
No,
okay?
time Lush.
Time Lush.
Time lash, yeah. Time to go on the lash, yeah.
Yeah. But as I saying, somewhere the tea is getting cold. Okay. Somewhere the tea is getting cold. Let's just sail off and we'll have a good time. And the TARDIS is locked, so we can't go anywhere. The TARDIS is locked. We're stuck. We're stuck.
Luke.
Yes,
Luke,
David.
the seeds of Doom bar.
Oh, okay, that's a very good one. That's a very good one.
Yeah, Lance uppercut in the live chat with the Sangria experiment, everybody. Peter Harrington with the raw orchid, and David Southall, looking back to the press release there, says, "Booby in the shower time." Somebody's having a good night. I think it means Bobby in the shower time. But,
Luke, you can take any of these. You can take any of these titles as the name of an upcoming Whoniverse production.
The invasion of Lyme.
Okay.
Luke's thinking, why do I do this show again?
I know. I gotta say, it's locked. I can't leave. It's stuck. It's stuck. I can't leave.
To be continued, everybody. That's to be continued. Eventually, it's going to be off for a pretty long time. For whatever.
Vengeance on vodka.
For whatever we hear, and whenever we hear it, keep listening and keep watching. Make sure you're notified, because there's always something brewing. There's always something brewing out there in the Whoniverse, in the time vortex. We will be back for more. This is Type 40, where there's no party lines, no beef, and no bullshit. We just take your comments, your rants, and your raves. All opinions are welcome here, as ever. So make sure you hit that cloister bell to get notified. All the new people that have joined us tonight. There's more where this came from, believe me. And this story is going to run and run and run. probably faster than even Russell T Davies has left the scene of the accident, the scene of the crime. Thank you, everybody in the live chat. Let's have one last look at the comments. Bobby, says David. Bobby. The kebab is getting cold, says Matthew Pounder. You going on for a kebab afterwards, buddy?
Yes. I'm surprised. You could have just said Russell's tiptoeing away from the situation there, but that's such an easier joke to make, Dan. Come on, Dan. Sort it out.
Christmas up, according to Farsight. I know it's getting late. Even my punning powers are diminishing this late in the stream. Skull Reunion suggests Funky. Do they still make Skull?
Yeah, no. Delta and the Barman. How about that?
How about Bottlefield?
There's lager and lime of the Rani.
Okay. I think we better wrap this up before it goes to extra time. And whilst we've still got an audience, thank you, as always, to the delightful Charlotte Shields. I think Charlotte is experiencing a complex cluster of emotions, and I doubt she's alone. We'll be digging into some more of that and confiding some of how we really feel as this hits, as the reality war inside us all hits, in that the version of the show which had pleased so few is now well and truly over. Luke's nodding off there.
I'm sad. It's sad. We're not going.
His fingerprints all over that.
We're not going to see it for a while. But this is a good thing. Fandom creates, which is a good thing. So it is good for the fandom. The fandom is the most creative when it's off the show. So it's bad for the BBC. It's good for the fandom. So bring on the fandom. I can't wait to see what they make.
And everybody, I don't know if he was
after closing time. If you need the urge to, how can I put this, to create something, make sure you do it behind the bins, because I understand that you can get an ASBO or some sort of restraining order for that, in a public place. Yeah,
an ASBO.
Be here on Saturday, everybody, for more Who Talk.
There's lots more Type 40 coming up, yes, so make sure you're notified. Expect the unexpected, everybody. There's several conversations we've got cooking, not just with the regular Type 40 panelists, but our various friends from across content creation and the Doctor Who fandom. The double doors there that Luke is there taking great comfort and shelter next to are going to be wide open to continue this conversation with multiple people. So yes, more coming up in a couple of days' time. Stay tuned here. Thank you for joining us, Luke. Oh, he's on the floor.
I'm here. Okay.
I was expecting at some point the camera will just point up at the ceiling.
I'm giving you the shot of the double doors you were talking about. I'm reacting.
Man down! Somebody get the St. John's ambulance to the fan cafe.
I'm just gonna tiptoe out of here. Okay.
Very good.
Let's leave that.
Don't go anywhere near Canal Street, because Russell will probably be out on the piss.
I love Canal Street. Canal Street's a good laugh. I love Canal Street.
But you don't want to bump into Russell. I think it could be somewhat the worse for wear. And if you do see him, don't tell him you're a Doctor Who fan. I don't think he's very fond of us right now. The feeling is mutual. Okay, Luke, thank you for dropping in, mate. It's really good to see you. Fabulous night. Can't wait to talk about this some more and find out how you're feeling, where your instincts are about the press release, all of the press releases, the various things that people are saying. I doubt this is going to be much, much more. So yeah, race back here as soon as you're able. Your mind and your body have recovered, and we'll doubtless get into it a little bit more here as ever. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, David. We've covered a lot of ground this time. A lot of people watching, a lot of people interacting. If you have a message for the people, the rest of the fandom, Gary, what would it be?
I'm at a loss. I'm at a total
Don't
loss.
eat yellow snow. Always keep your mouth open when you're insulting a lady.
I know what it is. Think before you post questionable Instagram messages. That would be the lesson from today.
Good. How about you, David? I mean, it is a sobering time. It's understandable that people are experiencing conflicted emotions, isn't it? But this is just the beginning of the first step on another journey for the Doctor Who fandom. It's this at times like this, even the Doctor Who fandom can pull together, can't it?
It can, and it can. And my message for the fandom is that this song may have ended, but the story never ends.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Bless him. Couldn't say much fairer than that, could we? More Type 40 and Type 40 Live coming up soon. We'll be keeping an eye out for everything that's happening out there. Who's saying what? And meet us back here in a couple of days. For more. Who knows who will be rematerializing, Gary? Who knows?
I just thought of what the one thought I want to leave with. I want to wish David good luck on his lawnmower tender, because I know that's going to be a big part of his concept for the revival.
It is. It's going to be.
Nice.
It's going to be. It's going to be great. That's it. I'm going to team up with Honda, and we are going to sort of pitch sort of like a lawnmower version of Doctor Who.
I feel a whole new wave of puns coming on. We'll spare you all of that, but be sure.
I'll make sure that you get final cut, Dan.
Oh God. We'll see you in the comments. More Type 40 Live and Type 40 coming your way as the story continues to unfold here of the cancellation of Doctor Who. Really? Certainly looks like it. Lots more on the next show. This is Type 40, where we always have the time if you have the space. Tear up. Bye-bye.